Chapter 1091. Yi Qinghan was very cautious. If they entered but didn't come out, it would be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Nangong Yunlan thought for a moment and said seriously, according to the ancestral god's notes, we just have to go back the way we came. It didn't say that there would be trouble. However, he is a supreme god and is different from us, so I don't dare to be sure. Nangong Yunlan calmed herself down and said, why don't I go in and try? Or catch a ferocious beast to try? It's too dangerous inside. Let Hating go in and try. Brother Yi, is that okay? Nangong Yunlan suggested. Yi Qinghan nodded and went to the blood ditch. He called Hating out and let him enter the eternal cloud sky. However, Hating's eyes were filled with fear. He shook his head vigorously as if he was afraid to go in. Go in. Then come out immediately. You don't have to do anything, Yi Qinghan ordered coldly. Hating was helpless. He didn't dare to go against Yi Qinghan's will and could only rush into the whirlpool and disappear quickly. The four of them waited quietly. After an incense stick's worth of time, Hating still hadn't appeared. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but frown. Logically speaking, it was just a quick entry and exit. Why did Hating take so long? Could something have happened? Nangong Aoshue was a little worried. If a powerful creature like Hating met with danger just by entering and exiting, then the eternal cloud sky great world was too terrifying. Yi Qinghan and the rest were silent as they stared at the whirlpool. As time passed, their hearts turned cold. If Hating couldn't return, then it was either he met with danger or he wasn't strong enough to break through the inner bindings and leave the eternal cloud sky great world. Buzz, with a soft hum, the entire space trembled. The whirlpool at the entrance trembled as if it was hit by something. Hating's huge head stretched out from the whirlpool but was quickly pulled back. He was powerless to break free from the bindings of the great world. He can stretch his head out alone. The four of us can come back together. Let's go in. Yi Qinghan was very determined. He stepped into the whirlpool and punched the entrance barrier. His figure flashed and disappeared. Nangong Yunlan, and Nangong Yunlan joined forces to destroy the entrance, and entered the Wangu Yuntian sky. Whoosh! The vortex tunnel was like a space-time tunnel. Stars flickered and their trajectories could be seen clearly. The four of them lost control of their bodies in the tunnel, and kept tumbling around. Whoosh! Flames burst out from their bodies as they charged out of the tunnel, entering the Wangu Yuntian. The aura of primal chaos inside the Wangu Yuntian was exactly the same as it was back in the primal chaos era, or perhaps even better. There were divine herbs and rare herbs everywhere, and ancient trees that reached into the sky were everywhere. Birds flew through the air, and their speed was even faster than the powerful birds outside. A few powerful vicious beasts were roaming about, staring fixedly at Hating. If it wasn't for the heavy poison on his body, they would have pounced over and devoured him long ago. Hating was still charging out with all his might, but he didn't dare stay here for long after failing several times in a row. At this moment, he was baring his teeth and roaring furiously. He only heaved a sigh of relief after discovering that Yi Qinghan and the others had also entered. Yi Qinghan looked up at this space that didn't belong to the primal chaos universe. The pores on his body expanded as he absorbed the aura of primal chaos with all his might. It was even more perfect than the saints of the various holy lands. No wonder the various holy lands wanted to fight for the entrance here. Once they occupied an entrance and opened up a territory, the geniuses they nurtured would be much stronger than the other powers. Everything was in its original state. There were only vicious beasts slaughtering each other, but there was no complete destruction of humans. They didn't know the use of divine herbs, so the divine herbs and rare herbs here weren't used. They were everywhere. It's too perfect. It's like a paradise, even better than our holy lands. Nangong Aoshue said excitedly. The aura of primal chaos pervaded the air, and the white fog was boundless. A few wisps of smoke shrouded the mountain peak in front of them. The rosy clouds illuminated everything. If this wasn't a paradise, what else could it be? There aren't any humans here. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but take a deep breath. He was very suspicious. That's not necessarily true. Many giant gods mysteriously disappeared in the past. I don't believe they just disappeared like that. It's very likely that they took root here and survived. As for whether or not they left behind any inheritances, that remains to be seen. This place is too dangerous, and the vicious beasts are too powerful. This danger zone can even kill paramount gods. It's very difficult for humans to survive here, Nangong Yunlan said calmly. Yi Qinghan nodded. He looked at the boundless divine splendor in the depths. There were transformation-grade divine herbs and vicious beasts everywhere, but they disdained to transform. The divine light they emitted covered 1,000 kilometers, benefiting all beasts. That was why the beasts and plants lived in harmony. There was no war, and both sides benefited from each other. Yi Qinghan turned to Hating and said in a low voice, "Give me some venom and smear it on Hating's blade. Then I'll send you off." Hating didn't hesitate. He didn't want to stay in this world for a single breath, because terrifying vicious beasts could appear at any time. He didn't know how long they had lived here for, but their cultivation was ridiculously high. He wouldn't dare to enter this place before reaching adulthood. Whoosh! Hating spat out a mouthful of venom and bathed himself in Hating's reincarnation light. The venom was completely absorbed into his body, but it couldn't destroy his essence at all. On the contrary, it would increase his offensive power. Once the vicious beast's defenses were broken through, the venom would instantly render them immobile. Boom! Yi Qinghan slashed through the air and tore open the entrance. Hating rushed out without hesitation and borrowed Yi Qinghan's power in addition to his own to directly charge out of the eternal cloudy sky. He wasn't restrained by any power at all. Let's go deeper. My main target is the primal chaos divine metal and the violet gold divine liquid. Your target should be the divine herbs. There won't be any conflict between us. Yi Qinghan calmly said. Let's go. The four of them rushed towards a rainbow divine splendor. However, they didn't fly and instead ran along the mountain path. Flying in this place was purely suicidal unless one was tired of living. Yi Qinghan and the others retracted their auras and didn't even take out their weapons. They only moved through the forest with their bodies bent and were extremely vigilant. Roar! Just as the four of them were moving swiftly, a ferocious black panther swooped down from a mountainside in front of them. Its fangs pierced through the ancient trees and its sharp claws tore through space like tofu. It pounced towards Yi Qinghan, who was at the front. Whoosh! The black panther spat out lightning from its mouth. The swift and fierce lightning hadn't even touched the ancient trees when the leaves of those ancient trees all withered. They were swept up by the wind and filled the sky. Boom! Yi Qinghan fiercely punched out. The dragon's might burst forth and struck out a giant dragon's afterimage. It swallowed the lightning and counterattacked the Black Panther's true body. The Black Panther was frightened by the dragon's might on Yi Qinghan's body. Its sharp claws tore apart the giant dragon's afterimage, but its aura was also shaken. It collided with Yi Qinghan's iron fist and borrowed the momentum to flee madly. It swiftly traveled 1,000 li and disappeared in front of the four people in the blink of an eye. What a shrewd Yao! Yi Qinghan was rather surprised. He had thought that the wild beasts here didn't have any intelligence. The Black Panther was just an interlude and didn't delay the four people's formation. They quickly rushed to the valley that was blooming with divine radiance. The surroundings were emitting the aura of powerful wild beasts. Clearly, the divine herbs had their own life-bound beasts and guardian beasts. Even if there were divine herbs here, they might not be able to take them away. Chapter 1092. The four of them approached the mountain range together, but they stopped when they were 100 meters away. The pressure coming from the other side of the mountain range was too strong. No matter how bright the divine radiance was, no large beasts dared to approach. Every powerful divine beast had their own territory. Unless it was a battle to the death, no one would dare to act recklessly. However, there were powerful divine beasts everywhere. Flying beasts flew past Yi Qinghan and the others, killing each other. Sometimes it would rain blood dripping onto the leaves. Yi Qinghan and the others were leaning behind a tree, gazing at the canyon before them. Looking at Nangong Yunlan and the others, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, "Brother Yunlan, should the two of us go in and scout the path first?" All right." Nangong Yunlan agreed without hesitation. He did not want Nangong Yunao and Nangong Aoshue to be in danger. After all, there was still a gap between their strength. Swish! The two of them bent down and pounced into the canyon. Divine radiance filled the surroundings, causing the spiritual herbs nearby to flourish. Although Yi Qinghan was envious, he did not plunder them. First, he had to determine what kind of divine beast was in this territory and whether he could defeat it. The two of them entered the canyon along the cliff, peeking at the huge canyon. The divine radiance was somewhat dazzling, and it took a long time for them to adjust. They discovered that there was actually a large lake behind the canyon. There were divine lotuses growing on the lake, and they were rich in spirituality. The lotus seeds were dozens of times stronger than the divine lotus in the endless star system. In the center of the lake was the largest divine lotus. The profound radiance covered the sky, and the profound mysteries of primal chaos bathed the sky. It was simply a holy land for divine beasts to cultivate. Without a doubt, if Yi Qinghan could cultivate here for 3 to 5 years, it would be equivalent to cultivating for 3 to 5,000 years outside. That's the 9 Heavens God Lotus. I heard that the profound maiden of the 9 Heavens' personal treasure is none other than the 9 Heavens God Lotus. It's a flying type overgod artifact that was remodeled by the profound maiden of the 9 Heavens, and it can contain the universe within. If a mortal were to sit on it, they would be able to ascend and become a deity in a single day. Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan were also very nervous. No one knew what was in the water, but they guessed that it was on par with the serpent. If the two of them joined hands, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. If they used their supreme godly powers, that would be too extravagant. In this vast Wangu Yuntian, how much supreme godly powers would they need to squander? If we only take some of the divine lotuses and lotus seeds from the periphery, the ferocious creature at the bottom of the ocean shouldn't be enraged, right? Nangong Yunlan asked softly. Yi Qinghan shrugged his shoulders, not daring to be sure. If the ferocious creature at the bottom of the ocean was vengeful, not to mention taking some lotus seeds from the periphery, even approaching the lake would cause them to be attacked. I want a 9 Heavens God lotus seed, Yi Qinghan said resolutely. Lotus seeds could be transplanted into the Great Wasteland's ancient tablet. After tens of thousands of years, they might be able to cultivate their own 9 Heavens God lotus. It would be a waste not to take the supreme godly treasure right in front of them. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll go scout the area first. The divine bird was incomparably excited. When it saw the treasure, it couldn't move and even forgot about the danger. Yi Qinghan wasn't willing to let this trash take the risk. After all, its strength was too weak. It would be better to let the multicolored snake go and take the risk. At least it knew how to swim. With a thought from Yi Qinghan, the multicolored snake appeared at his waist. It flicked its forked tongue as it looked at the large expanse of divine lotuses. Its eyes were filled with greed, but it didn't rush out without hesitation. This was because it felt that there was a terrifying creature at the bottom of the lake that could threaten its life. I'll stand guard. You take the 9 Heavens God lotus seed. 3 to 5 will be enough. If there's any abnormality in the water, I'll immediately notify you. You rush up and I'll stop the ferocious creature from chasing after you, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Hiss! The multicolored snake didn't doubt Yi Qinghan's words. Since Yi Qinghan had given it an order, it would carry it out even if it had to die. Therefore, it quickly rushed towards the lake and shuttled towards the center of the lake along the leaves of the divine lotus. The divine lotuses didn't have much hostility towards animals. Even if an external creature invaded, it wouldn't destroy the divine lotuses. Therefore, they didn't resist at all. They just allowed the multicolored snake to approach the main lotus, the Nine Heavens God Lotus. Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan approached the lake, ready to provide support at any time. Although the saber and sword in their hands didn't have any fluctuations of divine power, they could erupt in an instant. Soon, the multicolored snake approached the main lotus. The main lotus had its own consciousness. It also noticed the multicolored snake. The lotus leaves swayed, creating ripples in the water. Although it didn't resist, it was warning the multicolored snake not to get too close. A faintly discernible divine power barrier enveloped the main lotus, preventing the multicolored snake from approaching. The multicolored snake tried a few times, but it couldn't break into the barrier and take the Nine Heavens God Lotus seed. Yi Qinghan also noticed the problem. He waved his hand, indicating for the snake to take the divine lotus seeds near the main lotus. Although the effects of using the Great Wasteland's monument to cultivate them weren't as good, it was better than nothing. The multicolored snake didn't hesitate. It opened its bloody mouth and took away a few mature divine lotuses. Just as it was about to leave, a ripple appeared in the water. A claw reached out from the bottom of the lake and grabbed the multicolored snake's tail. Boom! Even though the multicolored snake was as strong as a giant god, it was still effortlessly dragged into the water. The multicolored snake struggled frantically, flipping its body and trying to bite the thing in the water. However, this thing was unbelievably strong. It actually broke through the multicolored snake's defense. The muddy water at the bottom of the lake churned and blood constantly rose. The powerful multicolored snake was actually unable to shake the vicious underwater creature. When the multicolored snake saw the vicious creature clearly, it was actually a water monkey. It was shaped like a human and looked like a water ghost. Its sharp claws could easily pierce through divine weapons. Its body was instantly covered in wounds. It could only try its best to drag the water monkey out of the lake. However, it couldn't break free. Facing this water monkey, it was like a weak baby. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He flew up into the sky and ruthlessly slashed down. His saber chi penetrated the lake and rushed to the bottom of the lake, trying to force the vicious creature out. However, the water monkey's reaction was extremely fast. It dodged the saber chi in the blink of an eye. The resistance of the water didn't affect it at all. "I'll attack. You're in charge of snatching the divine lotus. I don't believe that it won't come out." Yi Qinghan was furious. The multicolored snake had followed him for thousands of years. He couldn't bear to see it die at the bottom of the lake. Moreover, he didn't even see clearly what had caught it. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan each had their own task. One slashed at the bottom of the lake, while the other slashed at the Nine Heavens divine lotus. Boom! The waves were thousands of feet high. However, the Nine Heavens divine lotus suddenly shone brightly. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered and formed a huge defensive barrier in the lake. It blocked Nangong Yunlan's attack, and also blocked Yi Qinghan's crazy slashes. Damn it! Yi Qinghan was burning with anger. His veins were bulging. He directly transformed into a dragon and soared into the sky. He held his saber and descended from the sky. He was incomparably ruthless. He directly displayed his peak combat strength. The 5 elements' divine light broke through the clouds. The 7-foot heavy saber cut through space and time and ruthlessly slashed at the Nine Heavens divine lotus. Chapter 1093. Yi Ching Han slashed with his saber. His physical body erupted. His 5 elemental Tao body, true dragon sacred body, and more than 10 godhoods erupted at the same time. Divine power poured out, and this saber strike was enough to destroy a star system. It was enough to destroy a powerful giant god. It ruthlessly slashed at the 9 heavens god Lotus's defensive barrier. Boom! Boom! Hua hua hua! Hiss! Hiss! Boom! Yi Ching Han suddenly erupted, once again displaying the violence of the inch strike. His right shoulder slightly moved up and instantly pressed down, directly severing the 9 heavens god Lotus's defense. He ruthlessly slammed into the 9 heavens god Lotus's body. The 9 heavens god Lotus's large lotus leaves swayed and revealed a human figure. It waved its hand and suppressed Yi Ching Han. Yi Ching Han had shattered the defense. He had plenty of strength, but his momentum was insufficient. He flipped his saber and slashed at the 9 heavens god Lotus's figure, but he was forcefully pressed to the bottom of the water by an ethereal divine power. Boom! Yi Ching Han slammed into the surface of the water, causing a splash. However, before he could soar into the air, a sharp claw reached out from the bottom of the water and grabbed his right arm. Bang! Yi Ching Han felt as if he was being dragged by a supreme god. He didn't even have the strength to resist as he was dragged into the water. The strength of the 2 thick claws was so great that they actually caused him to feel a dull pain even though he was wearing the golden armor. What the hell is this? Yi Ching Han was shocked. His hand trembled as he put away Boom. He swung his left fist at the water monkey's head. The bottom of the water was stirred up, forming a huge whirlpool. Bang! The water monkey reached out with its other claw to grab Yi Ching Han's left arm. It was fast and ruthless, and its strength was boundless. It actually managed to grab onto Yi Ching Han's arm like an iron clamp. Only then did Yi Ching Han see what the thing at the bottom of the water was. It was a human-shaped monkey covered in milky white fur. Its face was extremely ugly, and its fangs were as long as chopsticks. It was likely a legendary water ghost. Its strength underwater, its strength was comparable to that of a top physical establishing sage. Yi Ching Han's eyes filled with anger. Yi Ching Han's arms twisted. He twisted his arm ruthlessly. He grabbed the water ghost's arms. They were like beasts of a beast. Yi Ching Han twisted his arm. His eyes were filled. His arms, gods he yes. The multicolored snake was almost killed by the water ghost. Its body was covered in injuries. At this moment, it took advantage of the chaos to escape from the bottom of the water. It didn't dare to fight with the water ghost underwater. Above, Nangong Yunlan's sword moved unconventionally. His supreme sword technique displayed supreme divine might. His moves were extremely crafty as he attacked the 9 heavens divine lotus continuously. The frenzied rumbles in the valley shocked Nangong Yuneo and Nangong Aoshue, who were outside. The 2 of them flew into the valley together and saw a wave rushing into the depths. Nangong Yunlan was fighting with a figure crazily. With his strength and supreme sword technique, he actually couldn't gain the upper hand. They couldn't help but be shocked. Xiao, the 3 figures worked together. All of them were supreme sword chi. Their battle prowess was definitely at the top among the divine sons. Their supreme saint technique commanded the myriad of Daos in the heavens. The heaven and earth rumbled, scaring the surrounding over-god-level vicious creatures into fleeing. The 9 heavens divine lotus suddenly rose from the sky and transformed into a human form. It was completely a real person. Its might could destroy the heavens. It bathed in divine radiance, and its gender couldn't be seen clearly. The divine radiance was like a curtain that blocked in front of it, blocking the attacks of the 3 siblings. Humans! This is the Wangu Yuntian. You actually dare to come here. Are you courting death? A crisp and angry rebuke resounded through the clouds. With a wave of the hand, a divine lotus image descended from the sky, wanting to suppress the three of them into the water. In the depths of the water ghost kept dragging Yi Qinghan towards the lake. This was only a lake in the valley. A long and narrow chasm extended outwards, and outside was the boundless deep sea. Once he entered the deep sea, Yi Qinghan definitely wouldn't have the chance to leave alive. The strength of this water ghost was abnormally strong. Up until now, Yi Qinghan hadn't met an existence that could fight against him with brute force. But today, he met one. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his leg and kicked at the chest of the water ghost. He pulled back his hand, wanting to fight for control with the water ghost. Water was the domain of this water ghost. It was a god and Yi Qinghan was a mortal. With a nimble dodge, it dodged the heavy kick and pounced at Yi Qinghan. It opened its fangs and bit at his neck. Yi Qinghan was shocked. With his hands bound, he couldn't dodge at all. He could only raise his leg again and kick at the water ghost's chin. Boom! The kick missed, and a 10,000 zhang tall water pillar rushed out from the water and into the sky. Ah! Yi Qinghan roared in his heart. He grabbed the water ghost's right arm and pulled it towards himself. With a backhand press, he almost broke the water ghost's right arm. Roar! The water ghost gave a miserable shriek. With a twist of its body, it turned the situation around and circled behind Yi Qinghan. It wanted to restrain his arms and waist. As long as it could restrain him, Yi Qinghan wouldn't be able to break free. Bang! Yi Qinghan rolled and kicked back, hitting the water ghost's chest. The water ghost finally felt the pain and let go of his arms. Yi Qinghan felt that his arms were about to be crippled. His blood and qi were stagnant and unable to flow. He wanted to rush out of the water, but this damned water ghost was like a ghost, entangling one of his legs. Boom! Yi Qinghan was infuriated. He used his left knee to strike the water ghost's head, but it was blocked by its arm. This fellow's strength underwater was too great. It was so great that all the giant gods were powerless. It was no wonder that this world could cause the supreme gods to fall. They had just entered the Wangu Yuntian, and they were already in big trouble. If they went deeper, who knew how many terrifying existences there would be? Bring it out of the water. This kind of water monkey lives underwater. It might be weakened outside. The divine bird shouted in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan suddenly burned the bottom of the water, almost burning the water. The water whirlpool around the water monkey suddenly sped up, wrapping it and Yi Qinghan. The flames outside couldn't hurt it at all. In my name, I command the water of all arts. Yi Qinghan roared. The water in the entire inner lake surged. With him as the base, water rushed into the sky, forming a huge water dragon. It could actually let out a long roar, sweeping up half of the lake water, and causing the water level to drop by half. The water dragon rushed to the shore. The water ghost was instantly shocked. It actually mobilized the water of the sea, forming an even more terrifying water dragon, wanting to take it back. Two water dragons soared into the sky, their long tails coiled around each other, tightly entangling Yi Qinghan and the water monkey. Neither was willing to give up. Open! Nangong Yunlan dodged the attack of the nine heaven god Lotus. A powerful sword descended from the sky, directly cutting off the water dragon controlled by the water ghost. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to sweep the water ghost away and landed on the shore in the blink of an eye. Hua! The water dragon dispersed and flowed into the lake. Yi Qinghan had a place to land. He turned his hand and grabbed the water ghost's neck. He realized that the water ghost didn't have the strength it had before. It was as if it was paralyzed, allowing him to do whatever he wanted. Chapter 1094. Yi Qinghan locked onto the water monkey, only to find that it had gone limp without any strength. It was no longer as ferocious as it was in the water. He threw it on the ground and rolled up his sleeves to look at his arms. They were bruised, and his blood could not flow. If it continued to tear at him, his body would be crippled. He had to reconstruct his golden body. Once the water monkey was caught, the 9 heaven god lotus stopped attacking. It stared at Yi Qinghan with a pair of sharp eyes. The divine light covering his face dissipated, revealing a heaven-shaking and earth-shattering appearance. It made Nangong Aoshua feel inferior. Human, you better not mess around. This is the Wangu Yuntian, not the chaotic universe, warned the 9 heaven god lotus. Yi Qinghan's eyes twitched. He shook his arms and ignored the divine lotus. Instead, he rubbed his arms to speed up the blood flow. The water monkey had injured him quite badly. It would take at least half a month for his arms to recover to their peak. Nangong Yunlan and the rest retreated to the shore, no longer tangling with the divine lotus. However, they were still vigilant. The 3 of them had used a supreme sword technique to attack together, but they could only temporarily suppress the divine lotus. It was obvious that its cultivation was heaven-defying. I just want a few lotus seeds. You guys attacked me first. Yi Qinghan looked at the scarred multicolored snake and could not help but feel anger rising from his heart. I don't know you. Why should I give you lotus seeds for free? The 9 heaven god lotus frowned and retorted. The weak are prey to the strong. This is the rule. There is no reason. Just like how you attacked us. If we were weak, we would not have had the chance to stand here and talk to you. At that time, would you have listened to me? Yi Qinghan retorted forcefully. The 9 heaven god lotus stepped on the surface of the water. Seeing the water monkey limp on the ground and about to be killed at any time, it had no choice but to compromise. It asked in a crisp voice, I will give you 4 lotus seeds. Can you put the water monkey in the water? Double. Moreover, I want the essence of your lotus seeds. You can plant them. Yi Qinghan was incomparably firm. The 9 heaven god lotus had lived for so long. It must have accumulated a lot of divine lotus seeds. If they were planted in the Great Wasteland Monument, it would definitely be beneficial to the Kuang sect. Insatiable greed. If you offend me, don't even think about leaving here alive. I'll give you 5 at most, not even 1 more. The 9 heaven immortal lotus said angrily. Yi Qinghan smirked. He waved his hand and took out frenzy. He raised his saber and was about to kill the water monkey. He did not want to talk at all. Wait. Okay. I'll agree to your request. The 9 heavens lotus was flustered and exasperated. She could only agree to Yi Qinghan's request. Give it to me. Don't talk nonsense with me. My will not change, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 9 heavens divine lotus waved her hand and sent out 8 golden lotus seeds. They looked like the most precious treasures with the Upanishad patterns. They were the panacea that could help people ascend to the sky within a day. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and received 4 of them. The remaining 4 were then pushed into Nangong Yunlan's hands. Nangong Yunlan was overjoyed. She hurriedly said, Thank you, Brother Yi. Yi Qinghan placed them into the Great Wasteland's steel and opened up a large lake. The mark opened up a whirlpool and absorbed a large amount of lake water. The water level dropped rapidly. Some of the ordinary divine lotuses were uprooted and rejected into the Great Wasteland's steel. A huge round lake appeared in the Great Wasteland's steel. The lake water surged. The ordinary divine lotuses released their spiritual energy. They did not feel uncomfortable in the Great Wasteland's steel. Instead, they became more energetic. The 9 heavens divine lotus was furious. However, she did not want to anger Yi Qinghan. She could only endure it. Is that enough? The 9 heavens divine lotus asked in a hoarse voice. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and pulled up the water monkey. He stared at the 9 heavens divine lotus. His cold eyes were filled with determination. He said coldly, Remember, you should only mind your own business. Don't bother about others. You better cultivate here peacefully. Don't go around looking for monsters to take revenge. Otherwise, I will make you regret taking a human form. The Nine Heavens Divine Lotus was stunned by Yi Qinghan's gaze. For a moment, she did not dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, she was prepared to join forces with the four overlords to kill Yi Qinghan and company here. Bang! Yi Qinghan casually threw the water monkey into the lake. Roar! The moment the water monkey entered the water, it bared its teeth and looked furiously at Yi Qinghan. It wished it could drag him into the water again. Don't be arrogant in front of me. If I can drag you out of the water once, I can drag you out of the water a second time. Yi Qinghan fiercely stomped and berated. The water monkey was shocked and quickly retreated to the side of the Nine Heavens Divine Lotus. It hated Yi Qinghan to the bone. Let's go. Yi Qinghan swept away the multicolored snake and slowly retreated. He did not want to force the Nine Heavens Divine Lotus too much. After leaving the canyon, Yi Qinghan coughed out blood. His face was pale and his arms were trembling. He lost control and knelt on the ground. Brother Yi, what happened to you? Nangong Yunlan and the others were shocked. Only now did they know that Yi Qinghan was injured. Blurg, Yi Qinghan spat out a large mouthful of black blood. Only then did his complexion look better. He leaned against the cliff and said tiredly, "This water monkey is too powerful. Its underwater strength is even greater than mine. It almost shattered my internal organs." Nangong Aoshua took a deep breath and looked at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. She knew how abnormal Yi Qinghan's physical body was. Even He Ting was forced to retreat. However, she did not expect that he would lose to a water monkey in terms of advantage. Just how powerful was this water monkey in the water? Protect me. I need to recover from my injuries. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and took out a small piece of reincarnation blood ginseng from the Great Wastelands Monument. He was not willing to use this reincarnation blood ginseng since he obtained it. He would not use it unless it was a critical moment. However, he had no choice now. If he did not maintain his peak condition in the Wangu Yuntian, he would not even know how he died. The reincarnation blood ginseng was swallowed into his stomach. It immediately turned into a flood of divinity that filled his bones. He mobilized his divine power to heal his internal organs. It rushed into his ashen arm, and his entire body emitted a divine light. Along with the reincarnation divine iron, the great Tao of reincarnation spread out. It was as if hell had descended. The aura of death enveloped everyone. Everyone within a 10-mile radius could clearly feel the aura of death. No vicious beast dared to approach. After half a day, Yi Qinghan's complexion finally regained some color. He opened his eyes slightly and looked at the three people guarding three directions. He could not help but nod in satisfaction. Many thanks to the three of you. I'm almost healed. Yi Qinghan smiled. Brother Yi is too polite. I still have to thank you for helping me obtain 4-9 deity lotus seed. This can maintain the eternal inheritance of my holy land for millions of years. Nangong Yunlan said excitedly. Yi Qinghan nodded and did not stand on ceremony. He began to plunder the divine herbs in the periphery of the canyon. The Great Wastelands Monument shot out a divine light. Nothing could escape from its binding. Nangong Aoshua and the others also plucked many top-grade divine herbs. However, they only wanted the best. Their holy land had many ordinary divine herbs, unlike Yi Qinghan who lacked a foundation and wanted everything. Yi Qinghan looked at the three of them staring at him, and could not help but smile. Our family is big and we don't have much foundation. If we take these divine herbs back, we can create many deity experts. These are only mid-grade foundation. Brother Yi, why don't you cooperate with my supreme holy land? I can guarantee that our cooperation will be based on fairness. We will not let the Kuang sect suffer. Nangong Yunlan took the opportunity to suggest. Chapter 1095. Yi Qinghan looked at Nangong Yunlan and knew that he was serious about cooperating. Otherwise, the Supreme Holy Lands would definitely not be able to obtain the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. When Nangong Aoshue saw the hesitation in Yi Qinghan's eyes, she hurriedly ran over and said coquettishly, "Hey, handsome Yi, don't be so arrogant. Although our peerless Holy Land doesn't have many elites, and we have very few subordinate factions, we haven't used up any supreme divine power at all. Back in the day, every supreme god left 200 drops of supreme divine power for their clansmen. After all these years, most holy lands only have 100 drops left, and some don't even have any left. Our peerless Holy Land has only used 30 drops." Seeing Nangong Aoshue acting coquettishly, Nangong Yunlan and Nangong Yunlan couldn't help but shiver. They felt goosebumps all over their bodies. This fellow was very cold. She usually looked like a woman, but at other times, she was even more manly than a man. They had never seen her act coquettishly before. Yi Qinghan's back broke out in cold sweat from this coquettish tone. He hurriedly took a step back and smiled. "I'll think about it. I'll give you an answer after we obtain the Wangu Yuntian." "What's there to think about? Just agree to it now." Nangong Aoshue acted coquettishly again. Yi Qinghan took another step back, but Nangong Yunlan couldn't take it anymore. He scolded, "Little sister, speak normally." Cough, cough. "Anyway, I don't care. You have to agree now. You can state your conditions." Nangong Aoshue placed her hands on her hips like a tigress, not allowing Yi Qinghan to refuse. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment. This cooperation wasn't impossible. The key was the benefits. "If we cooperate, we can obtain 2 entrances. We each have 1, and you give Guangzhong 20 drops of Supreme Holy Lands. If we can only obtain 1, we'll share the entrance. Give Guangzhong 10 drops of Supreme Holy Lands. This is my bottom price. Cooperation is cooperation, friendship is friendship. I hope you can accept this price," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Even a single drop was extremely precious, let alone 20 drops of supreme divine power. Outside forces could only obtain diluted paramount divine power at best, but Yi Qinghan was obviously talking about the purest form of paramount divine power. A single drop was equivalent to 30% of a paramount god's attack power, which was destructive enough to destroy heaven and earth. If a paramount god didn't appear, not even a peak-level battle constitution expert would dare to fight against it. It was almost unrealistic for a holy land to take out so much supreme godly power in one go. It was impossible for any holy land to do so. After all, this was a supreme holy treasure that guaranteed a clan's inheritance. Nangong Yunlan was silent for a long time. He could make the decision on this matter, but he didn't want to recklessly agree to Yi Qinghan's request. The price was too high. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything either. He knew that he was asking for too much, but without paramount divine power, he didn't have the right to speak in the Holy Land. Anything he said would be useless. Yi Qinghan thought about it and decided to pay a little more to make the Supreme Holy Land feel more comfortable. Nangong Yunlan didn't say anything. She didn't want to continue. "I can provide you with a berserk-grade giant divine weapon, and I have a golden armor of the same grade. However, you have to provide some materials. In the future, both sides can form an offensive and defensive alliance. I believe that if we work together, as long as a paramount god doesn't appear, no holy land will dare to act recklessly." Nangong Aoshue didn't interrupt anymore. Only Nangong Yunlan could make the decision on this matter that involved so much supreme divine power. Nangong Yunlan smiled bitterly. 20 drops of supreme divine power had already damaged the foundation of the Holy Land. He couldn't make a decision for the time being. Yi Qinghan needed this supreme divine power very much. Only with it could he intimidate the other Holy Lands, such as the Sorcerer Tribe and the Demonic God Mountain. With 20 drops of supreme divine power, plus the one he obtained from Ji Tianling, the second-generation sorcerer god would have to think twice before acting recklessly. I'll help you get a complete supreme holy medicine that's on par with the 9 deities' lotus. Yi Qinghan took a step back again. Now, he was the one who took the initiative to cooperate. All right. We can cooperate, but let me tell you the truth first. Our supreme holy land has already declined. We don't have any subordinate forces. The only ones who can really participate in the battle are the 3 of us. Otherwise, I wouldn't be willing to risk the eternal cloud sky great world, Nangong Yunlan said honestly. Yi Qinghan shrugged. There were many experts in the Kuang sect. Not to mention him, Jiang Jingtian, Li Feng, Gu Qingyu and Zixian. There was also Monkey King Qitian, Di Longtian, Emperor Yi, Xia Ziluo, Yen Yunbei, Xian Yan, and the others. Together with the golden armor and giant divine weapon, it would be difficult for the divine sons and goddesses to win against them. 3 is enough. Our Kuang sect doesn't lack experts, Yi Qinghan said calmly. This verbal agreement was settled. They could sign the contract when they got out. Although Yi Qinghan was expressionless, he was very excited deep down. With 20 drops of supreme divine power, he wouldn't have to care about anyone's opinion anymore. The Kuang sect's backbone was really strong. Let's go deeper. Yi Qinghan was determined to go deeper. His goal was still the supreme grade godly metal. The purple gold godly liquid was also the most important part. The 4 of them increased their speed and rushed deeper. The purple gold godly liquid was the essence of supreme grade purple gold ore. It was extremely difficult to find, and the process of forming it required millions of years of accumulation. The purple gold godly liquid in the chaotic universe was very rare. The previous bit was obtained by the beast tamers in the abyss world. In order to get the purple gold godly liquid, they needed the divine bird and the little miser. But suddenly, the little chaos beast jumped out and pointed in the direction of a divine light. It bared its teeth, as if it had sensed some treasure. The divine bird appeared on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and lay on its back. It crossed its legs and pretended to be a dog. This fellow is immune to most supreme grade godly medicines. For it to be so excited, it must have found a supreme grade godly ore. It's very likely that there's a primal chaos origin inside. A supreme grade godly ore was a good thing. Now, there were only some godly medicines left in the yin-yang ring. There were no more godly sources or supreme grade godly crystals. In the future, they would have to spend a lot of money to rebuild the Kuang sect. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he rushed in the direction the little chaos beast was pointing. Nangong Yunlan and the other 2 also rushed over. The 4 of them had been galloping at full speed for more than 6 hours, but the divine light was still far in the horizon. They had encountered many ferocious beasts along the way, but they were all killed by Yi Qinghan. Not even their bones remained. In the end, the 4 of them appeared on that mountain at night. There were several small mountains nearby. A beam of light shone from above the Star River, bathing the entire mountain. It was tens of thousands of feet tall, and the surrounding godly medicines were lush and verdant. There were red flowers and green willows. It was very beautiful. The faintly discernible aura of chaos was dense. It was like a paradise. Some ferocious beasts seemed to have never seen humans before. When they saw the 4 of them approaching, there was not much hostility. Instead, there was confusion and curiosity in their eyes. There was no lack of adorable godly beasts. However, Yi Qinghan did not think that they were adorable. The more adorable a godly beast was, the better it was at lying. When it came to killing, it would not be careless at all. Chapter 1096. The cute divine beasts were approaching Yi Qinghan and the rest. Their bright eyes were darting around. From their outer appearance, they seemed to belong to the same race of beasts. Their entire body was covered in light golden fur, very soft and shiny. They had 4 short legs, and even their teeth were very small and pure white. There was a pair of chopstick-long curved horns on their heads, and a long black and white tail. They looked harmless to humans and animals. Nangong Aoshue was quickly subdued by these cute little beasts. She bent over to hug them, but Yi Qinghan grabbed her neck and forcefully pulled her back. "Hey, what are you doing, hooligan?" Nangong Aoshue furiously asked. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes, pointed at the little beasts and said, "Do you know what they are? Reaching out to hug them like this, aren't you afraid of being bitten until half of your body is paralyzed? Or your face will be bitten until it becomes toad skin." "Little sister, brother Yi has good intentions. You don't understand the dangers of the Wangu Yuntian. Can't you ask us before doing anything?" Nangong Yunlan bitterly smiled. "That's right, little sister, don't mess around. If such a peerlessly beautiful face is bitten until it can't be repaired, don't cry." Nangong Yuneo also reprimanded. Nangong Aoshue finally remembered, and her face turned slightly red. She pointed at the little beasts a few meters in front of them, and asked Yi Qinghan, "Then do you know what kind of little beasts these are? I want to raise one." Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, "This is my first time here, so I don't know anything about the ferocious beasts here. I am just reminding you out of goodwill. But they are really cute, there shouldn't be any danger, right?" Nangong Aoshue looked pitifully at Yi Qinghan and her two elder brothers. Her small hands kept moving upwards, wanting to reach out and hug them. However, without getting the nod of approval from Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan, she still didn't dare to hug them. At this moment, the divine bird sat up straight and looked at the little beast in front of it. Then, it lost interest and said disdainfully, "This is called the smelly fart beast. It's useless except for farting. Its poisonous gas is very strong and can ignore divine power defense and directly enter the body of a beast or a human. It can make the soul of a powerful beast dizzy and its body weak. Its physical defense will be lowered to the lowest level. Their teeth are very sharp and can easily tear apart a corpse and eat it directly. This kind of thing is hated by people and beasts who see it run away. Its meat is super disgusting, like the meat of a beast that has been dead for hundreds of years. It's incomparably stinky, so this kind of creature has almost no natural enemies." Hearing the divine bird's words, the four of them took a few steps back and kept a distance of 10 meters from the smelly fart beast. They really didn't realize that this cute little beast was actually so disgusting. "So disgusting?" Nangong Aoshue whispered in disbelief. "Hee, you can try if you don't believe me." The divine bird sneered. Nangong Aoshue shook her head and didn't dare to go any closer. Yi Qinghan turned his head to look at the divine bird and asked curiously, "What does this thing eat? I want to raise 2 of them." "It eats meat. It is a carnivore. As long as it is meat, it will eat it. The stronger its qi and blood, the better. However, I vaguely remember that it is not very picky." The divine bird replied. Yi Qinghan looked at the 4 smelly fart beasts wagging their tails in front of them. They probably didn't have good intentions and wanted to eat them. However, they weren't confident and wanted to sneak up on them. Shwa! Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched and the imprint opened. The Great Wastelands Monument shot out a ray of divine light and directly took it into the monument. The Great Wastelands Monument had a boundless space. There were mountains and forests everywhere, but there weren't any ferocious beasts. Therefore, Yi Qinghan began to capture the weaker ferocious beasts. He grabbed them into the Great Wastelands Monument. In an instant, the area within a radius of tens of li was in chaos. Yi Qinghan had become a bandit, capturing everything he saw and causing the beasts to panic. Starlight shone brightly as a black shadow sped forward. Occasionally, it would sweep past the heads of Nangong Yunlan and the others, chasing after powerful beasts. Sometimes it would pass through the forest. As long as the imprint on his forehead flashed, it would be very difficult for any ferocious beasts to escape his grasp. His imprint should have an extremely large storage space. Furthermore, it can contain life. I estimate that it is an over-god weapon. Nangong Yunlan guessed in a low voice. That's impossible. There are only 21 over-gods in total. How could there over-god weapons be in the outside world? Nangong Aoshue asked somewhat suspiciously. Perhaps it was a storage space that was created when the primordial chaos first split apart. He only managed to obtain it because he was extremely lucky. Nangong Yunlan shrugged. Just as the three of them were discussing this, Yi Qinghan charged back from afar. Once again, he returned to this place. Satisfied, he said, "Let's go to that mountain up ahead and see what's inside." The four of them joined forces and sped forward. After roughly an hour, they traveled over 50 kilometers and finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. A towering mountain towered into the clouds. It was 30,000 meters tall. No wonder one would run a horse to death just by looking at it. It was right in front of them, with only 50 kilometers to go. Next to it was an auxiliary mountain peak that was only a few hundred meters tall. That ray of divine light had shot out from this mountain. Perhaps there was something within this mountain that had attracted countless amounts of starlight, causing the divine light to envelop this place. The little chaos beast grew more and more excited. It immediately broke away from Yi Qinghan and charged towards the small mountain peak. Just as the four of them approached the mountain, all of their hairs suddenly stood on end. Even the little chaos beast charged back. Its soft fur had transformed into a porcupine, and it squatted on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, its body arched as it bared its fangs. Iolo, a low roar shook the entire mountain forest. Instantly, everything fell silent. Countless savage beasts prostrated themselves, and birds fell from the skies, smashing viciously into the mountain forest. Yi Qinghan and the others looked up. Halfway up this small mountain stood a huge purple-furred wolf. It was at least 3 to 4 times bigger than an ordinary wolf. Its pair of red eyes were soul-stirring. It looked down at the four of them from above. Just its aura alone was enough to make the little chaos beast tremble in fear. One could only imagine how strong its aura was. Its thick and strong limbs moved slightly. Yi Qinghan could clearly feel the ground shaking. This creature was definitely one of the most terrifying beasts. It might even be stronger than the transformed demon wolves of the Abyss realm. Most importantly, it was inhumane. It was all about killing. The disgust in its eyes showed that it only wanted to slaughter Yi Qinghan and the others when they suddenly appeared. There was no compromise or deterrence. Boom! The huge wolf jumped down from halfway up the mountain and landed not far in front of Yi Qinghan. The impact caused rocks to fall and the ground to shake. The purple-gold wolf god's body is like a divine weapon. Its claws are sharper than a giant divine weapon's, and its fangs can break through the barriers of the universe. It drinks moonlight and starlight, and feeds on purple gold and divine source. It is extremely bloodthirsty, especially on a night with a full moon. It slaughters in all directions, and wherever it passes, not even a blade of grass will survive. It has no weakness. You're on your own now. I'll leave first. After the divine bird finished speaking, it rushed into Yi Qinghan's body and pulled the little money grubber out, wanting to escape. The little money grubber took a look and shouted, "Oh my God, the purple-gold divine wolf king! It is the king of the wolves! I will not play with you any more!" Whoosh! The little money grubber turned and ran. He did not even call out to the divine bird. The divine bird was so angry that it cried out loudly. Indeed, they were like family. No loyalty, no morals, and no principles were the traditional virtues of the spirit-devouring divine parrot race. "Master, this divine bird will cancel the contract and go protect my beloved wife. Take care." After saying that, it ran away. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He shouted angrily, "You beast, no loyalty! You're talking nonsense. When have I ever been loyal?" The divine bird did not even turn its head. Its voice came from behind, leaving Yi Qinghan and the others looking at each other. Chapter 1097. You're talking nonsense. When has this divine bird ever cared about loyalty? These words echoed throughout the valley, causing Yi Qinghan to be so angry that his teeth hurt. He didn't even have time to scold this family of weirdos before the little chaos beast tried to run away. Unfortunately, it was a step too late and was caught by Yi Qinghan. You can't leave. You have to fuse with me and increase my speed, Yi Qinghan said furiously. The Nangong siblings looked at each other and were speechless. Nangong Aoshua mocked, Big Brother Yi, what kind of weird things are your spirit pets? They can even take the initiative to break the contract and escape when they encounter danger. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He had completely lost all his face. However, there was no time to think. The violet gold divine wolf king was already in front of them. Something that could scare the little chaos beast and the weird divine bird away was probably ridiculously strong. It was too late to escape now. Escaping would only leave their backs open for the wolf to attack, and they would definitely die. Yi Qinghan's long saber shook, and dragon blood flowed continuously. A powerful aura broke through the clouds and pressed against the violet gold divine wolf king. Boom. Nangong Yunlan, Nangong Yuneo, and Nangong Aoshua unsheathed their swords at the same time. A supreme aura burst out, especially Nangong Yunlan. Her faint supreme aura forced the Wolf King to retreat. Perhaps it was intimidated by the powerful aura of the four, but the violet gold divine Wolf King actually took a step back. It bared its teeth and glared at the four of them. The ruthlessness and greed in its eyes were even more obvious. Roar! The Wolf King's eyes were suffused with red light. It let out a low roar that reverberated in the mountains, causing eardrums to go numb. The wild beasts in all directions fled in panic, not daring to come close. Kacha, with a crisp sound of rocks breaking, the mountain rocks under the Wolf King's claws cracked. They were even weaker than tofu and couldn't withstand a single blow. Swish! The violet gold divine Wolf King turned into a purple light and pounced towards Nangong Aoshua, who was on the left. In terms of strength, she was the weakest. If it wanted to attack her one by one, it meant that its intelligence wasn't inferior to humans. Swish! Swish! The three siblings drew their swords at the same time, and a rainbow of sword light pierced through the clouds. The supreme sword chi was extremely sharp, shattering the space in front of them. They hoped to repel the purple gold divine Wolf King's sudden attack. Boom! Yi Qinghan exploded, and even the mountain rocks beneath his feet crumbled. With the support of the little primal chaos beast, he gained the upper hand by striking only after the enemy had struck. He slashed his blade at the purple gold divine Wolf King. Before the blade arrived, the force had already shattered the ground, and a deep ravine ran from north to south. However, his speed was still a step too slow, and the purple gold divine Wolf King dodged the fatal blow. Brandishing its sharp claws, it shattered hundreds of sword rays. It opened its bloody mouth, revealing its soul-snatching fangs as it bit at Nangong Aoshua's neck. Boom! Nangong Aoshua held her sword horizontally to block while continuously retreating. Nangong Yunlan's faintly discernible figure streaked across the void. Her sword pierced through the middle of the Wolf King and Aoshua. The sword chi pierced through a small mountain and directly pierced a hole in the mountain. However, it missed by a hair's breadth and only rolled up a few strands of wolf fur. The wolf fur was hard and emitted a purple-gold divine radiance, blocking the sword chi. Open! Yi Qinghan's saber style was not finished yet. The downward slash was forcefully twisted and turned by him, slashing horizontally at the God Wolf King's four limbs. The God Wolf King finally didn't dare to force Nangong Aoshua anymore. Its body twisted, and the rainbow saber light streaked past its body, attacking Nangong Aoshua. The saber could be retracted, but the saber light couldn't be retracted. The saber light instantly arrived at Nangong Aoshua's neck. Just as it was about to strike her body, Nangong Yuneo pounced and forcefully pulled Nangong Aoshua's body down. The saber light swept past her head, cutting down thousands of ancient trees and flattening a few hills. The entire place was in a mess. Yi Qinghan was also shocked. The destructive power of the berserk madness was too strong, and the area of effect of attacking this vicious beast was too wide. It could attack the three of them at any time. Without a choice, they could only give up on the berserk madness. After retrieving the berserk madness, Yi Qinghan clenched his fist with his bare hands. The golden armor saint robe radiated with radiance, and the golden armor gloves bound his iron fist. He clenched his fist fiercely, and a crisp sound could be heard. He stomped his foot, and his domineering body rushed forward. Using his knee and elbow, he struck at the purple-gold Divine Wolf King at the same time. Boom! The purple-gold Divine Wolf King was infuriated by Yi Qinghan's provocation. It waved its huge forelimbs and clawed at Yi Qinghan. The sharp cold light of its claws could be seen in the void. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan's elbow struck the wolf's claws, and his knee struck its abdomen. However, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his elbow, as though it had been pierced by the purple-gold Divine Wolf King. The impact his body endured was comparable to a peak attack from a top-grade giant god. Yi Qinghan's body was smashed to the bottom of the mountain. However, the purple-gold Divine Wolf King's body also flipped over and lost control. Nangong Yunlan's sword pierced its spine. However, a purple light rushed out from the Wolf King's body and directly offset half of its power. The remaining power sent it flying, and it rolled over a dozen times on the ground before coming to a stop. Hum! Swish! 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 Nangong Yunao and Nangong Aoshua launched over a dozen attacks at the same time. All of them struck the Wolf King's body, but it was useless. Its defense was even more terrifying than Yi Qinghan's golden armor saint robe. The giant god weapons couldn't penetrate it. Boom! Roar! The purple-gold Divine Wolf King was pushed back over a dozen meters. Not only was it not severely injured, but it also stimulated its ferocious nature. It leaped up from the ground and waved its forelimbs to claw at Nangong Aoshua. Roar! Yi Qinghan rushed up from the deep pit and punched down. Flames covered the sky, forming a huge flaming divine dragon. The surrounding air was scorched and emitted an unpleasant smell. Boom! Yi Qinghan's attack was ultimately a step too late. The purple-gold Divine Wolf King's claws struck Nangong Aoshua's divine sword, and the dignified giant god weapon was directly smashed apart. Her body was like a kite with a broken string, and she was sent flying hundreds of meters away. 5 elements, heed my command. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, 5 dragons, come forth. Hum, hum. Yi Qinghan followed closely, and the 5 dragons accompanied his fist as it blasted towards the purple-gold Divine Wolf King. The purple-gold Divine Wolf King had no choice but to give up on chasing Nangong Aoshua. It turned its head and let out a roar that caused the mountains and rivers to collapse. The heaven and earth Yuan Qi dispersed, and the 5 elements' heavenly dragon turned into nothingness. Yi Qinghan's facial muscles were contorted, which showed how powerful this roar was. F***CK. No wonder those 2B***Qis wanted to escape. Yi Qinghan lost control of his body and retreated dozens of steps. He couldn't help but curse. This guy couldn't be resisted. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. One finger extinguishing heaven and earth. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan twisted his body and stabilized himself. He formed seals with both hands and pointed in the air. A huge fingerprint appeared and blasted towards the purple-gold Divine Wolf King's head. Roar! The purple-gold Divine Wolf King wasn't easy to bully. It waved its huge claws and actually tore apart Yi Qinghan's great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, causing the fingerprint to disintegrate. Swish! 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 Nangong Yunlan and her siblings attacked from the side, obstructing the purple-gold Divine Wolf King. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, second finger shattering mountains and rivers. Boom, boom. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, third finger shaking 8 directions. Yi Ching Han poured out his divine power and pulled out the 9 dragon root. Using his divine power, more than 10 godheads flew out and didn't care about the consumption of divine power. Every attack was at the peak of combat strength and didn't know fatigue. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, fourth finger imprisoning heaven and earth. Swish, 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 swish. Yi Ching Han shattered the spacetime within 100 miles and suppressed the purple gold divine wolf king at the same time. 5 elements dragon fist. Roar. Chapter 1098. Yi Ching Han was going crazy. He used a few of his strongest attacks. They could have used up all the god power of a giant god. It might not have been enough, but he was still making hand signs and using his god power. Big wild power breaks world. Boom. Yi Ching Han used his last attack to crush the mountain beneath his feet. The ground caved in. His body was like an arrow flying toward the purple gold god wolf king. His fist was covered in a scary flame. This attack was no longer god power. It was pure physical strength. It was the most barbaric way of fighting, but it used the big wild power. It was the big wild Tao scripture skill. After studying it for so long, he had learned this skill. It was like one punch could break a world. The purple gold divine wolf king was also frightened by Yi Ching Han's craziness and savagery. It began to doubt its life. Oh no, it was wolf life. It felt like Yi Ching Han was the wild beast, while it was a weak human. Roar. It was being suppressed by a human at its most advantageous position. It completely infuriated the god wolf king. Suddenly, its veins bulged. Its body doubled in size. It ignored the attacks coming from behind. One of its claws went for Yi Ching Han's fist. The other claw went for Yi Ching Han's head. Its fangs went for Yi Ching Han's neck. Boom. A man and a wolf were sleeping as their fists and claws collided. The purple gold divine wolf king's other claw and fangs had already made contact with Yi Ching Han's head and neck. However, the impact of the collision between the two powerful physical monsters sent them flying. Boom. Yi Ching Han hit the highest peak. The purple gold god wolf king flew into the air and hit a tall mountain behind it. Roar. The purple gold god wolf king did not expect Yi Ching Han's power to be so crazy. If he had been a little weaker, his fangs would have bitten off his neck. It was a shame he had failed. He was sent flying. Boom. Yi Ching Han's body hit the highest peak. The whole mountain was rustling. Rocks kept falling. It was like it was going to collapse. It was very scary. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Ching Han spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body felt like it was falling apart. Even his golden armor had almost been pierced through. If it weren't for his golden armor, that blow would have taken away 90% of his life. He crawled out of the mountain with great difficulty. His eyes were bloodshot, and his blood was in turmoil. At this moment, the purple gold divine wolf king was not in a good state either. It had just knocked down a mountain, and before it could react, it was beaten up by the Nangong siblings. It was beaten so badly that it lost its sense of direction. The offensive power of the Supreme Saint technique was extremely fierce. The Wolf King let out a mournful howl, shaking the earth and mountains. However, its skin was thick and its flesh was thick. After continuously withstanding several hundred attacks, it finally recovered after spitting out blood. Its anger was overflowing, and it madly bit at Nangong Yunlan, wanting to kill her in one strike. Because his attack was the strongest and most ruthless, he caused the most damage to it. Roar! There was a deafening roar. It made the three of them dizzy. But a god's son was a god's son. Nangong Yunlan's strength was almost on par with Yi Ching Han. He activated the Soul Defense Divine artifact in his Sea of Consciousness and blocked the soul attack. He swallowed a drop of diluted Supreme God power. Man and sword became one. Boom! Nangong Yunlan was faster than lightning. The divine power in his body poured out in an instant. The primal chaos in the powerful Supreme God power was completely exhausted. Boom! The divine sword easily pierced through the defense of the purple gold god Wolf King. It pierced into the forelimb of the huge wolf. Roar! The huge wolf roared. The injury made it crazy. It slapped Nangong Yunlan's back. Bang! Puff! Nangong Yunlan's internal organs were nearly shattered. Although he was powerful, he didn't have Yi Qinghan's physical body and was nearly killed by the Violet Gold Divine Wolf King. However, the Violet Gold Divine Wolf King wasn't willing to give up. It bit the sword hilt with its fangs and pulled it out, allowing blood to spurt out like a waterfall. It pounced towards Nangong Yunlan's back, but its speed and strength were significantly reduced. Between life and death, Nangong Yunao and Nangong Aoshue started to go crazy. They even risked their lives to block the attacks of the purple gold god Wolf King. Yi Qinghan had only made some minor adjustments. He could not recover to his peak state. It was too late. If Nangong Yunlan died, the three of them could forget about escaping. Dragon transformation! Roar! Yi Qinghan suddenly transformed into a huge dragon. His huge tail attacked indiscriminately, including the three of them. If they were hit by his tail, they would not die. However, if they were bitten by the huge wolf, they would definitely be swallowed. The purple gold god wolf roared. It gave up on killing the three in front. It turned and waved its claws. It tore through the shackles and grabbed the dragon tail. The dragon's scales with strong defense were pierced through and were torn off. Yi Qinghan roared at the sky, feeling a heart-wrenching pain. He swung his huge tail viciously and flung the Violet Gold Divine Wolf King to the highest peak. The Violet Gold Divine Wolf King collapsed a large part of the mountain, feeling dizzy and furious. However, Yi Qinghan was also like a madman. He pounced towards the peak, wrapping around the huge wolf with his 100,000 zhang golden body. Yi Qinghan wrapped around the huge wolf and constricted it along the peak, wanting to strangle it to death. The purple gold god Wolf King was being strangled to the point it couldn't breathe. Its body was almost torn apart. Its sharp claws were locked and couldn't tear through the dragon's scales. However, its fangs were much sharper than divine weapons. They directly bit through the dragon's scales and injured Yi Qinghan's bone marrow. Roar! Roar! A wolf and a dragon were roaring mournfully. Both of them were going crazy. Whoever went soft first would die first. There were no exceptions. The entire mountain peak was entangled by the huge dragon Yi Qinghan had transformed into. The towering peak was on the verge of collapse and would be snapped at any moment. The huge dragon head circled around countless times before swooping down. It wanted to swallow the purple gold god Wolf King. The powerful body of the purple gold god Wolf King was almost deformed from the strangulation. It screamed tragically but still struggled bitterly. The two fangs were constantly smashing into the mountain and finally created some space for it. Just as it was about to break free from Yi Qinghan's restraints, he suddenly revealed his true form. He grabbed the two fangs with both hands. His veins were bulging and he was extremely ruthless. It was as though he wanted to break the fangs. Roar! The purple gold god Wolf King was on the verge of collapse from the pain. Tears streamed down its face and its teeth were chattering. It looked at Yi Qinghan ferociously and did a flip. It crashed down from the mountainside with Yi Qinghan. Boom! 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 The man and wolf crashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. The god Wolf King kept shaking its head, trying to fling Yi Qinghan away. However, Yi Qinghan was like a sticky candy. His legs were wrapped around its neck and his hands were grabbing the fangs. His strength was even more terrifying than a wild beast. The multicolored snake found an opportunity and found the weakest part of the jaw to bite down. The little golden crow also rushed out. The flames burned the heavens and the valley's divine fire soared into the sky. It almost burned the purple gold god wolf king. The purple gold god wolf king immediately suffered a fatal attack. It was most afraid of top-grade divine fire, and its biggest weakness was its jaw. After being attacked at the same time, it gave up struggling and gave up its two biggest fangs. It pulled the multicolored snake away and flung Yi Qinghan away before charging into the depths of the Wangu Yuntian. Boom! Yi Qinghan was flung away. His two fangs pierced into the rock and drew a long ditch. He crashed into a rock and felt dizzy. His eyes were filled with stars. The four of them climbed up from the ground in a sorry state. There was fear in their eyes. This Wangu Yuntian was indeed terrifying. They had only gone to 2 locations and were almost killed twice. What would they encounter if they went deeper? It was impossible to predict. Master is mighty. Master has descended from the heavens. This divine bird knew that you would definitely win. I will be cheering for you silently in the dark and support you spiritually. Not long after they won the battle, the divine bird brought the little miser into the valley and spoke in a wretched manner. Pooh! Yi Qinghan was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood from the bottom of his heart. His hands trembled as he roared, "Hurry up and scram!" Chapter 1099. Get the hell out of here right now! Yi Qinghan roared in exasperation. This bastard was too infuriating. Master! Don't leave me! I left because I love my wife. Put yourself in my shoes. If little mistress ran to the Wangu Yuntian alone, you would also abandon me to chase after her and protect her. Don't deny it. I understand you, but you don't understand me. I don't blame you. The divine bird flew over and hugged Yi Qinghan's leg. It looked at Yi Qinghan with a pitiful look and tried to argue. Hoo! Yi Qinghan was driven mad by the divine bird. This fellow actually pushed the responsibility to him. Master, I'm loyal to you. Don't give up on me. I know how to find treasures. The divine bird begged bitterly. This fellow really didn't dare to stay in the Wangu Yuntian alone. Otherwise, it would be eaten until nothing was left. Nangong Yunlan and the rest were speechless. They had never seen such a supreme-grade divine pet. It was definitely a scam. Ga. The little chaos beast looked at the divine bird with a mocking expression. It bared its teeth and waved its little claws, as if saying that it was the victor. The little miser glared at the little chaos beast. Then it said flatteringly, "Yo, you are really angry. The two of us are not battle-type divine pet. We will only be a hindrance if we stay. Why do you have to take it so seriously? Be good, don't be angry. I will find you 2 supreme-grade treasures." Yi Qinghan snorted and ignored it. His body felt like it was falling apart. He didn't want to waste time and directly used the 9 dragon root to heal his body. Bathed in the divine light, he swallowed a piece of reincarnation blood ginseng. His injuries were recovering quickly, and his strength was also recovering quickly. The divine bird quickly calmed down as if nothing had happened. It patrolled the surroundings and tried to do its best to gain merit. Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan suffered the heaviest injuries. They almost lost half their lives. The 2 of them recuperated for 2 hours and only recovered some blood qi. They wasted a large amount of divine medicine. Nangong Yuneo and Nangong Aoshue were guarding the entrance. They were very nervous. Now that a slightly weaker life form had appeared, they would be wiped out. At the very least, they would have to waste 2 drops of supreme god power. Crack! Yi Qinghan gently moved his body. The crisp sound of broken bones made him grimace in pain. Nangong Yunlan's spine had been broken. If she hadn't repaired it in time, her golden body would have been crippled. At this moment, she was in so much pain that tears were about to fall from her eyes. She didn't even dare to move. She used her supreme godly power to nourish it, and it gradually healed. Yi Qinghan, with the help of the 9 dragons root and the reincarnation blood ginseng, had recovered more than half by dawn. He was able to fight again. He slowly stood up and swayed his body. His face was still pale. The divine bird flew over in a wretched manner and said flatteringly, "Master, have you recovered from your injuries? This divine bird has good news for you." Yi Qinghan smiled coldly and said hoarsely, "Let's not talk about the good news first. Tell me, since you escaped, why did you come back?" "Escape? When did this divine bird run away? Have you been beaten senseless, or have you lost your memory? Haven't I always been around here? Otherwise, why would I come back after you guys defeated me? I was afraid of causing trouble for you guys, so I left the battlefield." The divine bird spouted nonsense with a straight face. "Pooh!" Nangong Yunlan was grimacing in pain, but after hearing the divine bird's words, she laughed on the spot. This caused her blood to become unstable, and she started crying. Her face turned even uglier. "Brother Yi, hurry up and make it shut up. Otherwise, even if I don't die in the hands of the purple gold divine wolf king, I will die from its mouth," Nangong Yunlan said angrily. Yi Qinghan was so angry that he was trembling. This lowly bird was getting more and more lowly. It actually made running away at the last minute sound so refreshing. "Let's not talk about this. Tell me the good news." Yi Qinghan really didn't want to bicker with it. It would only anger him to death, so he changed the topic. Cough, cough. "Look at that glowing mountain. There is a large amount of purple gold divine liquid inside. It has already gathered into a river. It should be enough for you to refine many giant soldier god. Other than the purple gold divine liquid, there is also a large amount of purple gold meteoric iron. The purple gold meteoric iron is a top-grade material for giant soldier gods. It has absorbed the essence of the sun and the moon all year round. The purple gold meteoric iron here is 100 times stronger than normal. Also, I found the chaos origin." The chaos beast flew into a rage out of humiliation and roared furiously at the divine bird. It had obviously grown bigger, and its claws were even sharper. Could cut open the mountain rocks like it was playing. The chaos origin could not only replace the martial way origin, but it could also allow one to comprehend the great Tao of chaos. Its value was not inferior to a few drops of supreme godly power. He believed that the sacred land would be willing to exchange for it. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and gestured for it to hand over the chaos origin. The divine bird didn't want to provoke Yi Qinghan again, so it only kept a small amount and handed over the chaos origin. It was a big lump, even bigger than the one they had obtained previously. In addition to the half eaten by the chaos beast and the half hidden by the divine bird, there was already a lot of chaos origin here. Yi Qinghan put it into the Great Wastelands Monument and hid it in a separate space. He used the power of desolates to protect it, afraid that it would be eaten by the ferocious creatures inside. "Let's go in and take a look at the purple gold divine liquid and the purple gold meteoric iron." Yi Qinghan looked at Nangong Yunlan and the others and suggested. "Okay." Nangong Yunlan slowly got up. Her back was still aching. She estimated that she had only recovered 50% of her battle strength, maybe even less. The 4 of them walked towards the shining mountain. The divine bird led the way, and they reached the middle of the mountain. They found a huge cave. The purple gold xian qi inside was dense and surging, as if it was going to soar into the sky. As soon as they entered the cave, they realized that the surrounding mountain rocks were just a distraction. The inside was filled with purple gold meteoric iron. The value of this mountain was comparable to that of a super force. The purple gold divine liquid is inside. There is a huge water tank that is filled with divine liquid. Judging by its viscosity, it is definitely a supreme grade divine liquid. The divine bird wanted to make a contribution and hurriedly led Yi Qinghan into the cave. The god-grade Xian Qi kept drilling into their bodies. Right now, even a piece of wood would be turned into purple-gold meteoric iron. As soon as they entered, Yi Qinghan saw a stone tank that was about 10 feet in radius at the bottom of the cave. Large amounts of purple-gold divine liquid were flowing in it. It was indeed the purple-gold divine liquid. Moreover, its viscosity was several times stronger than the beast-tamer lineages. It was the essence of the purple-gold divine liquid. There were a few drops of purple-gold divine liquid beside the stone tank. It was obvious that the divine bird had arrived earlier and taken away a portion of it. Yi Qinghan glanced at the divine bird indifferently. He realized that it was acting as if nothing had happened and was pretending not to know anything. He didn't want to be entangled with it anymore. After all, it would still be his in the future. Let's split it, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Nangong Yunlan had put in a lot of effort in this battle. If it weren't for the three of them, Yi Qinghan would have died a long time ago. He wasn't the kind of person who would give up on friendship when he saw a treasure. Therefore, he let Nangong Yunlan and the others go first. Chapter 1100. Nangong Yunlan did not stand on ceremony either. He took out a Qianquan jade bottle and took less than a third of it before stopping. Although the remaining 2/3 was huge, he was not greedy. Yi Qinghan nodded and took more than half of the remaining. He still kept some as he did not want to waste the mountain. After all, there would be another purple-gold godly elixir here in a few years. If he took it all away, it would be like killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. Yi Qinghan looked at the cave and saw the purple-gold meteoric iron here. He knew that his mission was completed. A portion of it could be used to forge a few hundred giant soldier gods. The arrogant sect would not have to worry about weapons anymore. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took out Frenzy and used his divine power to forcefully cut open the best purple-gold meteoric iron. Even though Frenzy was sharp and with his strength, it was still very difficult. It took him a lot of effort to cut open 1,000,000 pounds of meteoric iron. The meteoric iron was very dense. It was only 10 times bigger than the reincarnation divine iron, but it weighed 1,000,000 pounds. It was obvious that the quality was similar. With a little more weight, it could completely replace the reincarnation divine iron. The divine bird also took some of the meteoric iron with it. Only then did it reluctantly leave the cave and continue to walk towards the top of the mountain. Yi Qinghan and the others continued to climb up the mountain. Since there was so much divine elixir here, there had to be some supreme treasures and saintly medicines. Sure enough, after climbing 100 meters, they were stopped by a barrier made of divine power. The divine bird smiled and said, "I tried, I can't go up." Yi Qinghan looked at the divine bird and sneered, "There's an energy enchantment that you can't pass through? Didn't you say that as long as it's an energy enchantment you can pass through it? I can't fuse with the energy of this enchantment. It's like nature itself, very close to perfection. Unless I can cultivate to your level, I can't break the enchantment," the divine bird said honestly. Nangong Yunlan and the rest also tried a few times. No matter how hard they tried, they could not break the enchantment. There was no gap for them to enter. Yi Qinghan touched the purplish-gold barrier with both hands. He wanted to use his soul consciousness to enter the depths of the barrier, but he failed. He used Berserk to forcefully break it open, but it was as if he had struck a sponge. Yi Qinghan frowned in confusion. What a strange energy barrier! The creature who set up the barrier should have an understanding of barriers and grand daos close to that of an overgod. Could it be that this barrier was set up by a divine medicine from above? Could it be that the holy medicine above is at the same level as the 9 heaven god Lotus? If that's the case, won't we just be delivering food to it? Nangong Yunlan was a little wary. He didn't have much battle power now, so he didn't want to take any more risk. It shouldn't be so coincidental. Let's snatch this supreme sacred medicine and leave this place. The purple-gold divine wolf king has escaped. It will probably gather powerful demonic beasts to seek revenge. We don't have much time. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate as he pressed his hands on the enchantment. He mobilized the power of desolates to envelop his body. The mark emitted light as it constantly spun, tearing apart the enchantment. Buzz, buzz, buzz. There was a slight fluctuation in the enchantment before it distorted. It directly sucked Yi Qinghan into the enchantment. The remaining three were dumbfounded as they watched Yi Qinghan rush into the enchantment with the divine bird. They couldn't understand what level of power he had just used. After Yi Qinghan entered the enchantment, he realized that the purplish-gold Xian Qi here was exceptionally dense. It rushed into every cell in his body and changed his physical body. It was no wonder that the purple-gold divine wolf king's physical body was so abnormal that it could be forcefully suppressed. It turned out that this was a sacred ground for body refinement. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Qinghan rushed to the mountaintop and held berserk in his hand. He didn't dare to lower his guard, afraid that a purple-gold divine wolf king level transformation sacred medicine would appear. On the mountaintop, there were a few clusters of purplish-gold divine flowers swaying in the wind. They looked like purple-gold Xian iron grass, but they were exceptionally soft. They absorbed the essence of the sun and moon, and at the same time, had yin and yang attribute. They alternated between life and death, and were immortal. No one knew how long they had existed in this world. Purple-gold Xian grass, a legendary item. It's a sacred medicine for body refinement. Even if you smell it all day, your physical body will become sacred after a few hundred years. If you use it, your physical body's defense will be comparable to Xian iron, just like the purple-gold divine wolf king's physical body. It's very difficult to penetrate its defense, the divine bird said excitedly. There were several clusters, probably a few hundred of them. Each of them was priceless. This thing can only grow in places with purple-gold Xian iron and purple-gold divine liquid. It can't be found anywhere else, nor can it be raised. The little money grubber added. Yi Qinghan nodded. He couldn't take too much of this thing. If he couldn't raise it, it would be too wasteful. If he occupied the entrance to Wangu Yuntian in the future, the things here would still be his. There was no need to take them away. After pondering for a moment, he said indifferently, "We'll take 5 of them and leave the rest. If there's a chance in the future, I'll move this mountain into the Great Wastelands Monument." Yi Qinghan used gravity frenzy to cut away some of the soil and the purple-gold Xian iron at the bottom. The Xian iron at the top was extremely hard, and even gravity frenzy couldn't cut away a large area. After expending a lot of effort, he could only take away 5 stalks of purple-gold Xian grass. It's too late. Let's leave this place first. Yi Qinghan took away the Xian grass and rushed back to the mountainside. He discovered that the enchantment didn't stop him at all, allowing him to come out. He saw Nangong Yunlan and her siblings digging for the purple-gold Xian iron with all their might. They had already dug out a large hole in the mountainside. Shwa. Yi Qinghan took out 2 stalks of purple-gold Xian grass and said calmly, "These 2 stalks of purple-gold Xian grass can be considered as precious divine herbs. Whether you can raise them or not will depend on your own abilities." Nangong Yunlan was incomparably excited. His weakest point was his defense. With these 2 stalks of purple-gold Xian grass, he could make up for his weakness. He could even transplant 1 stalk to the holy ground. "Many thanks, Brother Yi." Nangong Yunlan took the divine herbs and said excitedly, "Let's not talk about these useless things now. Let's leave the Wangu Yuntian first." Yi Qinghan hurriedly said. The 4 of them prepared to leave the Wangu Yuntian. However, 10,000 li away, 2 figures were rushing towards them at high speed. Behind them was a huge black dragon that could destroy the heavens and earth. A single tail could destroy a towering mountain. The dragon would occasionally bare its fangs, wanting to pounce on the 2 of them. The 2 people's clothes were tattered and tattered. They seemed to have died, but their appearances didn't change much. They were the divine python serpent and the second-generation sorcerer god. These two ultimate experts were the strongest experts in the primal chaos plane. It was a pity that they didn't have the strength to fight back. The creatures in the Wangu Yuntian were too strong. Even though they weren't destroyed by the supreme gods, they could still see terrifying creatures in the periphery. Damn it, this black dragon is too strong. It's about the same as when I was at my peak. The second-generation sorcerer god leaped and teleported. With a wave of his hand, he could send the powerful flying beasts flying. He was invincible as he rushed towards Yi Qinghan and the rest. Can you find the second exit? This old man can't fight against it. The divine python serpent hurriedly asked. There's an entrance less than 10,000 li away. Let's rush over. The second-generation sorcerer god would occasionally use the sorcerer race's secret arts to destroy spacetime and force his way forward. However, the black dragon behind him was hot on his heels. Chapter 1101. The ancient sky was thick and majestic. Purple chaotic airflow surged in the blue sky and white clouds. Occasionally, birds would swoop down to kill ferocious beasts. Sometimes, they would seize the air and cause blood to splatter across the river. The deeper they went, the more powerful creatures there were. Yi Qinghan and the others ate some healing pills and recovered almost all of their injuries. They left the messy mountain and went back the way they came. After traveling for about 3 days, they returned to the canyon. The 9 deities' lotus was right in front of them, but they were powerless to fight for it. They could only look at it and sigh. Yi Qinghan gazed into the depths of the canyon and thought, it'll be mine sooner or later. Divine creatures that had taken human form weren't considered humans. They wouldn't treat themselves as humans either. They wouldn't show any mercy when fighting. Yi Qinghan naturally wouldn't treat the 9 deities' lotus as a human. That kind of divine creature didn't care about humans at all. Yi Qinghan and the others chose to continue toward the entrance. There were no more powerful creatures ahead, so the 4 of them obviously sped up. Behind them, the winds and clouds surged. The surging shockwaves crushed many forests. A rainbow pierced through the clouds and turned into a bolt of lightning that blocked out the sun's rays. Following that was a gale that could destroy space and time. Even the mountains and ancient trees were uprooted. Yi Qinghan and the others' figures clearly swayed. When they looked back, they couldn't help but be shocked. A black dragon's tail swept through the shackles of space. It was definitely an adult dragon that was equivalent to a peak giant god. Moreover, it was one of the strongest existences below the paramount god level. They could clearly see it from thousands of miles away. It was like a deep river that pierced through the sky. 2 powerful creatures radiated divine light in all directions. They actually used their bodies to block the powerful tail's attack. However, they still retreated, unwilling to be entangled. From time to time, powerful birds would pounce on the 2. They were comparable in strength to the violet gold divine wolf king, but their defenses weren't as terrifying. It's the second-generation sorcerer god and the serpent god. They actually ran into the depths or passed through another entrance. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. An existence that could force the serpent god and the second-generation sorcerer god to retreat was simply unimaginably powerful. Screech! With a mournful roar, another black shadow sped through space. It spat flames from its mouth and enveloped the second-generation sorcerer god and the serpent god. Roar! The serpent was forced to revert to its original form. It let out a long roar that shook the forest and suppressed the other ferocious creatures. However, it could not suppress the black dragon. Instead, it was suppressed by the black dragon's aura. Its blood was not flowing freely. The serpent had yet to return to its peak, so it could not fight against the black dragon. The black dragon was at its peak, and the second sorcerer god was even further away from his peak. It was a chaotic battle in the depth. More and more of the eternal cloud heaven's vicious creatures formed a temporary alliance and surrounded the second-generation sorcerer god and the divine python flood dragon. The second sorcerer god and the divine python divine flood dragon fought as they retreated towards Yi Qinghan's group. Clearly, they didn't know that Yi Qinghan was inside the Wangu Yuntian, and they only wanted to use the exit to leave the Wangu Yuntian. The creatures of the Wangu cloud sky rarely left this place, and any one of them could easily destroy a large area of the primal chaos. If this group of creatures rushed out, they could probably destroy half of the primal chaos. Should we take action? Nangong Yunlan immediately asked. Let's observe first. Don't take action for now. As long as these creatures don't leave the Wangu Yuntian, there's no need for us to take action. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and looked into the depths of the Wangu Yuntian. They were less than 3,000 miles away, and as long as they increased their speed, it would only take them a few breaths of time. The four of them held their breaths, but the divine bird couldn't sit still. It wanted to escape again, but it was afraid of angering Yi Qinghan, so it could only brace itself and explain, "Master, this black dragon isn't something we can fight against right now. Let's retreat first. Under normal circumstances, they won't leave the Wangu Yuntian and enter the primal chaos, so they won't affect us." Yi Qinghan looked at the divine bird and the little miser, and found that they were very familiar with the Wangu Yuntian. He asked, "When will these powerful creatures enter the primal chaos?" The divine bird hurriedly said, "Unless they are angered by the humans, and the humans escape through the exit, they might follow." Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and said hoarsely, "Isn't this the situation we're in now?" The divine bird stared into the depths and realized that the black dragon was not letting go. It had left its territory from the depths of Wangu Yuntian and rushed here. It must have been completely enraged. It could not help but wonder, second generation and serpent divine flood dragon couldn't have snatched the black dragon's egg, right? Yi Qinghan's heart trembled. The dragon race was rare, and this kind of pure black dragon was even rarer. It was a pure mutated species, and its insides contained the purest essence of a black dragon. Its boundless vitality was even more powerful than sacred medicines. The way they protected their eggs was much more terrifying than how humans protected their children. Whoever dared to touch a black dragon's egg would definitely be courting death. If the second king Yenluo and the serpent python managed to escape, Black Dragon would definitely seek vengeance against the Chaosverse. The Chaosverse would definitely suffer a devastating blow. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The second king Yenluo and the serpent turned into a streak of white light and charged out of the encirclement. They appeared not far away from the entrance, but they had yet to discover Yi Qinghan and the others hiding behind a huge rock. "Let's go out," the second sorcerer god said in a low voice. "If we go out now, Black Dragon will definitely lead a large group of powerful creatures to charge out. Do you want to cause the deaths of all the living beings of the Chaosverse?" The serpent said angrily. "What does the death of all living beings have to do with me? Besides, the other Holy Lands will definitely mobilize their resources and ask for an overgod artifact to kill these creatures. As long as we have these 2 black dragon eggs, we can recover our vitality. Even our fleshly body will be restored to its peak. By then, I can still attempt to become an overgod," the second sorcerer god said darkly. "Have you gone mad?" Yi Qinghan could no longer hold it in. He walked out from behind and shouted angrily. "Qinghan, what are you doing here?" The second sorcerer god was startled, then asked coldly. "Don't worry about that. Return the black dragon eggs to Black Dragon," Yi Qinghan said without hesitation. Roar, roar. Black Dragon led more than 10 powerful creatures to surround them from behind. A powerful tiger occupied the exit, blocking their path. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan's dragon blood boiled and his aura surged. Dragon scales covered his body, and he was about to transform into a dragon and soar into the sky. He took a small step back and stared at Black Dragon and the second sorcerer god. He realized that the second sorcerer god had no intention of giving up on the Black Dragon eggs, and Black Dragon was on the verge of exploding. Qinghan, this is my only chance to recover my vitality. If you don't help me, you shouldn't help the other races, the second sorcerer god said coldly. Black Dragon was startled as well. He stared at Yi Qinghan with his fiery eyes and growled in Draconic, "You are a dragon? Please help me get my 2 children back." Yi Qinghan's dragon blood was the purest, almost identical to that of a dragon. Naturally, he understood Draconic. This was an inheritance in his bloodline and bones. He looked at the anxious Black Dragon and nodded. "Don't worry. I won't allow him to take the Black Dragon eggs away today. But please calm down." Chapter 1102. At the exit, the atmosphere was tense. More than 10 terrifying beasts were about the same level as the Purple Gold Wolf King. 2 of them were even on par with the Purple Gold Wolf King. If they went out of control, they could tear Yi Qinghan and the others to pieces. "Senior, please give me the dragon egg. This is non-negotiable. I'm a human, but I'm also a giant dragon. My wife is the inheritor of the Chaos Giant Dragon. She's the leader of the giant dragons. I'll allow you to do whatever you want, but you can't destroy the unborn child of the dragon race." Yi Qinghan was resolute as he reached out for the Black Dragon egg. "What if I don't give it to you?" The second sorcerer god's aura surged as a drop of pure supreme divine power appeared in his hand. He smirked and asked coldly. The Black Dragon was worried that the second sorcerer god would destroy the Black Dragon egg. Otherwise, the second sorcerer god would have used his supreme divine power long ago. Yi Qinghan clenched his fingers, and a drop of supreme divine power appeared in his hand. The pure aura of the Tao of Karma covered the sky. It was almost on par with the supreme divine power in the second sorcerer god's hand. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Nangong Yunlan and her siblings activated their supreme divine power at the same time. The terrifying supreme divine power destroyed everything and suppressed all beasts. However, it also locked onto the second sorcerer god and the serpent god. The Black Dragon roared as it looked at them with disdain. Although it didn't have any supreme divine power, it wasn't intimidated by it. At least it could ensure that Yi Qinghan wouldn't attack first. The dragon race would always be the dragon race. They wouldn't kill their own race. The second sorcerer god didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be so resolute. He wouldn't allow him to take the Black Dragon egg away. "Qinghan, second sorcerer god, calm down. Don't do things that will hurt your loved ones and please your enemies. If both sides suffer, the sorcerer race and the insane sect won't be able to survive in this chaotic world," the serpent god said with a frown. "Senior, I respect you. So, if you want to borrow my seed, I will agree without hesitation. However, don't go overboard. If you take the Black Dragon egg away, how many innocent lives will be affected? Maybe I have nothing to do with them, but my territory will be attacked. This is something I won't allow. Insane sect doesn't have any foundation. We won't be able to stop the Wangu Yuntian's rebellion. I won't be able to bear with such an outcome," Yi Qinghan said coldly. The second sorcerer god. The second sorcerer god. However, the second sorcerer race and saint. The second sorcerer divines. Divine. Impossible. Not even one. You need a sacred medicine that can restore your vitality. It doesn't have to be a Black Dragon egg, Yi Qinghan said firmly. Of the third sorcerer god. Third of the of. Not to mention the egg, he wouldn't even give the dragon scale to the second sorcerer god. If he wasn't worried that the second sorcerer god would destroy the dragon egg, he would have already charged forward. Yi Qinghan signaled for the Black Dragon to suppress him. He waved his hand and took out the reincarnation blood ginseng from the great wasteland's steel. This was a supreme healing saint. It contained the profound meaning of the reincarnation Grand Tao. It could restore one's lost vitality. It was definitely comparable to the black dragon egg. "Give me the black dragon egg, and this reincarnation blood ginseng is yours." Yi Qinghan did not hesitate. He was willing to pay a huge price for the black dragon egg. The second sorcerer god's pupils shrank. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to have such an item. Now, he was willing to take out his own treasure to exchange for the black dragon egg. This wasn't his style at all. However, he was smart. He quickly realized that Yi Qinghan's goal was to give the black dragon a favor so that he could occupy the Wangu Yuntian's resources. A reincarnation blood ginseng for 1,000,000 li of resources in the Wangu Yuntian. It was definitely worth it. The second sorcerer god sneered. He secretly transmitted his voice, "I'll let you have this benefit. However, you have to give me a portion of it." Yi Qinghan nodded but didn't say anything. The second sorcerer god quickly took out 2 black dragon eggs. Both of them weighed a few hundred jin, and their shells were filled with the laws of the great Tao. The black dragon inside was about to be born. Yi Qinghan carefully received the reincarnation blood ginseng and passed it to the second sorcerer god. The second sorcerer god and the serpent each held a drop of supreme god force to maintain their defenses. They slowly approached the exit, tore open the whirlpool, and left the Wangu Yuntian. Yi Qinghan looked at the dragon egg and slowly approached the black dragon. He returned the egg to the black dragon. The huge black dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the black dragon egg, hiding it under its tongue. It was very grateful for Yi Qinghan's help. Using the pure dragon language, it said gratefully, "Many thanks for the help. You're too polite. I've only seen 2 of you. If I didn't help you, who else could I help?" Yi Qinghan replied solemnly, "You're a giant golden dragon. Why didn't you return to the Wangu Yuntian? Why did you stay in the Chaosverse?" The black dragon asked curiously. "I still have ties in the Chaosverse. Moreover, the Chaos Dragon's successor is my wife. I want to help her become a supreme divine dragon and strengthen the might of my dragon race. I want to protect the growth of my dragon race," Yi Qinghan said solemnly. The black dragon was silent for a moment. Then, it said, "You're truly benevolent and righteous. You're willing to pay a priceless treasure for my child. I don't have anything else to give you. Keep this dragon scale. The next time you come to the Wangu Yuntian, you can look for me." Whoosh! A huge dragon scale flew out from the black dragon's forehead and appeared in Yi Qinghan's hand. This dragon scale was the black dragon's life item. It contained the black dragon's divine might and could lead Yi Qinghan to the black dragon's main body. Ordinary vicious creatures would give it some face. Yi Qinghan smiled, knowing that he had achieved his goal. He accepted the dragon scale without hesitation and said, "Clan friend, please return. This time, you must protect the black dragon egg well. The Wangu Yuntian might not be peaceful in the future. If you need anything, you can look for me at the Azura domain. I'll do my best." The powerful creatures brought by the black dragon stared at Yi Qinghan's group. The greed in their eyes was self-evident, and their killing intent was thick. However, none of them dared to make a move. The black dragon let out a long roar, and the dozen vicious creatures retreated. They no longer prepared to attack Yi Qinghan's group. Yi Qinghan smiled. Although he had lost the reincarnation blood ginseng, it was enough to gain the black dragon's friendship. "Let's leave this place," Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Swish! Yi Qinghan and Nangong Yunlan worked together to tear open the exit whirlpool. The 4 of them rushed into the whirlpool and quickly returned to the outside of the blood trench. They discovered that the divine python serpent and the second-generation sorcerer god had not left. Moreover, they were looking at them with strange expressions. Nangong Yunlan and the others were on high alert, But Yi Ching Han did not think that the second-generation sorcerer god would make a move. Seniors, this entrance will be mine in the future. I believe you don't have any objections, right? Yi Ching Han said calmly. Yi Ching Han, this old man has underestimated you more and more. The second-generation sorcerer god was expressionless as he said hoarsely. Yi Ching Han smiled indifferently and said proudly, as long as Senior does not make an enemy out of me, it doesn't matter if you look up or down. Chapter 1103. Yi Ching Han was neither servile nor overbearing as he looked at the second sorcerer god on the same level. His words made it clear that he would not allow anyone to touch Kwang Zong. So what if it was his own son? The second sorcerer god narrowed his eyes as he looked at Yi Ching Han. He knew that Yi Ching Han was no longer the young child that he could control. Yi Ching Han's growth had far surpassed his own. Even if he still had some advantages, he could no longer suppress him. I didn't misjudge you, the second sorcerer god said hoarsely. I hope Senior won't misjudge me in the future, Yi Ching Han warned. Their voices were filled with hostility as they warned and probed each other. The serpent Xinjiao, Nangong Yunlan, and the others were confused. They didn't understand why the two of them, who were supposed to be working together, would suddenly become so hostile. However, Yi Ching Han and the second sorcerer god understood that they were just using each other. However, both of them were cunning people, so it was difficult to fully exploit each other. My judgment has never been wrong. The second sorcerer god smiled and said, I've given you such a big favor, allowing you to form a relationship with the Black Dragon. I wonder how much of this benefit I'll get? The second sorcerer god went straight to the point. He did not want to lose this benefit. Yi Ching Han stared at the second sorcerer god and frowned. Senior, what are your chances of escaping back to the Chaosverse with the Black Dragon Egg? What are your chances of surviving the pursuit of the Black Dragon and the ferocious beasts of the Eternal Cloud Sky? I have a 50% chance of leaving the Eternal Cloud Sky. As long as I enter the chaotic universe, I have a 100% chance of surviving. The second sorcerer god's aura changed. He felt that Yi Ching Han was going to renege on his promise. 50% chance? Yi Ching Han snorted and said seriously, I thought you didn't even have a 30% chance. The Black Dragon Egg is the essence of the Black Dragon's life. Once you prepare to leave the Eternal Cloud Sky, it will choose to perish together with you. So, you're not giving me a favor, I'm saving your life. So you're saying that I won't get any benefits? The second sorcerer god was a little angry. His aura rose as he asked coldly. 2 supreme-grade sacred herbs of life. Take it as a token of respect from this junior to you and senior Python Xinjiao. Yi Ching Han was very relaxed. He did not want to offend the second sorcerer god and win over the serpent god, so he made the promise. Ha ha, I was right about you. Within 30 years, I hope to see a supreme-level sacred elixir of life. After the second sorcerer god finished speaking, he glanced at the serpent and dashed towards the blood ditch together. The poisonous gas in the blood gully wasn't a threat to these two peak experts. Hating didn't even dare to come out and attack them, allowing them to pass through. Nangong Yunlan finally understood. It was no wonder that Yi Ching Han was willing to cooperate with the Supreme Holy Land. It turned out that both he and the second sorcerer god were hiding daggers behind their smiles. They were using each other and would fall out with each other for the sake of resources. Yi Ching Han looked at the 3 dumbfounded people and said indifferently, I'm a person who clearly distinguishes between kindness and hatred. To my brothers, I'm willing to go through fire and water. To my collaborators, I'm only interested in benefits. To my enemies, I only talk about strength. Brother Nangong, I hope that we can be brothers, not collaborators, and definitely not enemies. Nangong Yunlan nodded and cupped his fist. My tribe is sincere in cooperating with you. Nangong Yunlan is sincere in this friendship. Yi Qinghan, you're so cool. Even my tribe leader doesn't dare to speak to the second sorcerer god like this. How dare you be so impolite? Nangong Aoshua's face was flushed red. She was extremely excited. This was the first time she saw the younger generation offending the older generation of the Holy Land. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly and he shook his head. He would not be at peace with the sorcerer tribe, nor would he compromise with the demon god mountain. Although they cooperated in the early stages, they would definitely kill each other in the later stages. The second sorcerer god understood this, and the demon god mountain definitely understood it even more. The 30 lives of the crazy sect would not be lost in vain. Let's go back. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and crossed the blood ravine, entering the evil spirit mountain. The three of them followed closely behind. Without Heiting's interference, the blood ravine was not much of a threat. The four of them rushed out of the evil spirit mountain and returned to the South Horizon region. Currently, the South Horizon region was vigorously searching for resources. Although the major cities were secretly competing with each other, there were no more wars. The people of the South Horizon region were no longer suffering. Their lives were 100 times better than before. Everyone revered Yi Qinghan and thanked Yi Qinghan. If it wasn't for him, this kind of campaign would have lasted for a long time. The flags of the crazy sect fluttered above the major cities. When the second sorcerer god and the serpent god passed by, they did not plunder the resources here. It was clear that they did not want to be enemies with Yi Qinghan. The resources in the cities were piled up like mountains. Spirit herbs and precious medicines were all placed separately. Every city had about the same amount of resources, and there were quite a few cities that had found godly metal. Although the grade of the metal wasn't bad, it was far from what Yi Qinghan wanted. When Yi Qinghan arrived at the Thundercloud City, the city lord Lei Baotian personally came to welcome him. He was stunned by the three experts beside Yi Qinghan. Only then did he realize that they were just natives and could not be considered as true experts. Gather the 18 city lords and bring all the resources above the high god level. As for the resources below, leave them for your own development. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Yes. Lei Baotian replied respectfully. Very soon, Lei Baotian contacted the various city lords. The 18 powerful overgods all brought the resources and rushed to the Thundercloud City. They were also stunned by Nangong Yunlan and the others. They were even more stunned by Nangong Aoshua. Yi Qinghan judged according to the resources and the death rate of each party. The death rate in the Thundercloud City was the lowest, but the resources were the most. He gave Lei Baotian the most suitable and powerful lightning secret technique. The others were each rewarded with a over-god-level divine technique. All of them were extremely powerful. The experts were dumbfounded by these divine techniques. They revered Yi Qinghan even more and did not dare to disobey him. Develop the South Horizon region well. I need geniuses. I need true experts. Set up an academy and teach the elites for free. As long as you find an elite that satisfies me, I will reward you with another divine technique. It will only be stronger than the current one. Yi Qinghan gazed at everyone and said in a deep voice, Yes, sir. Lei Baotian and the others replied excitedly. Treat your people well because they are my people. If I find out who dares to wantonly enslave their people, I will throw you into the blood ditch in the depths of Evil Spirit Mountain. Yi Qinghan warned sternly. No one dared to refute and nodded. I will build a super long-distance teleportation array in the Nantian region that can reach the main sect of the insane sect. If there's anything you can't solve, you can report it to Lei Baotian and go directly to the insane sect through the teleportation array. In addition, in a few days, I will send an expert to take charge of the Nantian region. He will be holding my decree, and his name will be Luojia. He will be the domain master. Lei Baotian might have a bad temper and looked like a boor, but he was meticulous and knew how to cater to others. At this moment, he was the first to stand up and express his willingness to assist Luo Jie. The others did not dare to say anything. From this moment on, the South Horizon region was under the insane sect. Chapter 1104. Yi Qinghan reorganized the South Horizon region and worked together with Nangong Yunlan to build two large gates. One led to the Azure region and the other led to the Holy Land. It was all for the convenience of entering the Wangu Yuntian. On the second day, Yi Qinghan, Nangong Yunlan, and the others returned to their respective homes. Yi Qinghan returned to the Azure region and found a desolate dead mountain to start refining the giant divine weapon. The Holy Land was a paradise. Immortal qi lingered in the air, divine beasts flew around, and birds flew in the sky. However, they had lost their ferocity and mingled with the creatures of the Holy Land. Nangong Yunlan and her siblings returned to a city in the sky. The city was like a celestial mountain, and there was only a pillar at the bottom. It was 100,000 li in radius, and it was very harmonious. Immortal children laughed and fairies danced. When they saw the return of Nangong Yunlan and her siblings, they hurriedly rushed over. "Brother, sister, I improved again. Brother, look at me, I broke through." The children surrounded them as if they were presenting treasures, showing off their cultivation. There were also innocent children showing off their clothes. Their souls were so pure that people couldn't bear to hurt them. Nangong Yunlan smiled and nodded. She led the group of children back to the city in the sky. She returned to the Holy Land alone and went straight to the shrine. In the shrine, there were a few elders standing. They were all supreme elders of the Holy Land, and their cultivation was terrifying. They were almost at the end of their lifespan, and there wasn't much time left. At this moment, they were all frowning. When they saw Nangong Yunlan return, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. "Yunlan, you have always been calm. Why are you so muddle-headed this time? You brought Yuneo and Aoshue to the Wangu Yuntian. If something happens, where will you put the Holy Land?" The Supreme Overlord of the Holy Land, Nangong Batian, reprimanded angrily. Nangong Yunlan was very calm and didn't quibble. She only said in a low voice, "Holy Lord, I wanted to save the situation of the Holy Land, so I had no choice but to take the risk. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought my siblings to the Wangu Yuntian." "Then you should have brought the clan elder to protect you. I thought you guys wouldn't be able to come back." Nangong Batian was very angry. This was purely out of worry. Nangong Yunlan and her siblings were the only fruits of the Holy Land. Nothing must happen to them. "Holy Lord, don't be angry. I found a way out." Nangong Yunlan slightly bowed and said, "A way out? What do you mean?" Nangong Batian and several other powerful clan elders raised their eyebrows as they looked at Nangong Yunlan and asked curiously, "I met Yi Qinghan, the leader of the insane sect, in the Wangu cloud sky. I've been following him all the way to the Wangu cloud sky in search of opportunities, and we had a great time working together. He agreed to cooperate with my supreme holy ground, and at the very least, take down one of the entrances to the Wangu cloud sky. He even gifted my clan a set of supreme-grade golden armor, a supreme-grade giant divine weapon, a supreme-grade divine herb, purple gold mysterious grass, and 4 9 heavens divine lotus seeds." Nangong Yunlan said excitedly. Although Nangong Batian was pleasantly surprised, he also frowned. Yi Qinghan was not someone who liked to give out benefits. If he was willing to give so much, he would definitely want more. "What does he want?" Nangong Batian asked in a low voice. Nangong Yunlan took a deep breath and continued, "If we cooperate and win one of the entrances, we will share it. We will provide 10 drops of supreme divine power. If we win 2 entrances, each side will have one, and we will provide them with 20 drops of supreme divine power. Moreover, we will form an alliance. I believe that he will bring about a change in the situation for my supreme holy ground. Nangong Batian and the others were stunned by Yi Qinghan's exorbitant demand. After so many years, the supreme holy ground had only used up 30 drops of supreme divine power. Yi Qinghan wanted 20 drops of supreme divine power. His appetite was really big. You agree? One of the clan elders asked in a serious tone. Yes. Nangong Yunlan replied firmly. The shrine was silent for a long time. Nangong Yunlan did not say anything. Whether they could cooperate or not still depended on the clan elders and the sacred leader. If they did not agree, Nangong Yunlan could only return everything she had obtained. She would definitely not take advantage of Yi Qinghan. After a long time, Nangong Batian looked at Nangong Yunlan and asked hoarsely, "How much do you know about Yi Qinghan? Can you trust him? If we give up so much and get nothing in return, it will only speed up the demise of the holy ground. He is very strong. I have exhausted all my resources, but I am still not his match. This is his strength. His insane sect supports him. He is the pillar of their soul. This is his charisma. He is willing to sacrifice himself for his brothers. He is willing to avenge the 30 dead disciples of the insane sect. He is willing to become enemies with the demon god mountain and the sorcerer tribe. This is his principle and bottom line. I trust him," Nangong Yunlan said with certainty. "He also has a grudge with the sorcerer tribe?" Nangong Batian asked in surprise. On the way back, he met the second sorcerer god. He almost fought with Yi Qinghan, but both sides restrained themselves. Nangong Yunlan explained. After that, Nangong Batian asked Nangong Yunlan to leave the shrine first. The clan elders discussed in the shrine, discussing whether to cooperate with Yi Qinghan. Nangong Yunlan did not dare to guarantee that this would work, but there was a good chance. The supreme holy ground had been forced into a corner. If they did not cooperate, the holy ground would definitely decline. In the end, they would lose all their resources and be ruthlessly trampled to death by the other holy grounds. In the Azura region, a barren mountain range was directly burned into nothingness by the fire. It continued to collapse. Yi Qinghan's soul was divided into several parts. He controlled the reincarnation divine iron. Day after day, the 9 dragon roots supported him with divine power. He did not know fatigue. At the same time, he controlled several divine weapons to take shape. There were sabers, swords, axes, and all kinds of divine weapons. The crimson reincarnation divine iron absorbed all the mysteries in the world. It was filled with the aura of chaos and contained his blood essence. When the purple gold divine liquid was poured into it, the powerful divine weapon exuded a terrifying aura even before it took shape. Day after day, the temperature of the entire Azura region rose. No one dared to go near the barren land. The little golden crow occasionally flew into the sky and let out a long cry that shook the mountains and rivers. The phenomenon of heaven and earth attracted the attention of many major forces, but no one dared to go to the Azura region. Emperor Yi and the others retreated to the Azura region 5 months before the battle. They looked at the barren volcanic mountain range and saw the divine weapons taking shape one after another. They were all extremely excited. A Guqin soared into the sky. The frame of the Guqin was actually made of the purple gold divine wolf king's fangs, purple gold profound iron, and purple gold divine liquid. The bowstring was made of the Guqin silk transformed from the reincarnation divine iron. It was bathed in dragon blood, and its divine aura was earth-shattering, causing the sound of nature to resound. Emperor Yi flew into the sky and flicked his finger. 2 drops of blood essence flew out from his forehead and rushed towards the Guqin. 1 drop of blood essence from the Chaos Dragon and the other drop of blood from the Heart Vein. When they touched the reincarnation divine zither, they were directly absorbed. The divine zither merged with her, and she could control the vast and mighty sound of the Guqin from a distance. Hum! The purest sound of nature caused the world to fall into a deathly silence. It was as if this was the only sound in the world. It caused people to be addicted and unable to extricate themselves. Chapter 1105. The heavenly sound of the zither was vast and mighty, crushing the heavens. The Shura region fell into silence. The divine zither floated in the air, exuding reincarnation and celestial chi. Emperor Yi stood beside the zither, his white hair fluttering in the wind. His jade-like hands stroked the zither strings, and the melodious zither music filled the air. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and a set of golden armor and golden gloves appeared beside Emperor Yi. This set of armor and gloves had been made with a large amount of purple gold meteoric iron and divine liquid. The quality was much better than his own. Emperor Ye's defense was not as good as Yi Qinghan's. Naturally, he had to put in a lot of effort to ensure Emperor Ye's safety. Emperor Yi waved his hand and put on the golden armor. The purple robe was piercingly cold, and as his white hair danced, he looked like a goddess. His jade-like fingers were protected by the golden gloves, and the recoil of the zither's power could no longer harm him. Emperor Yi smiled like a flower. He liked this divine zither very much, but he liked the golden armor and gloves even more. "Thank you, Master," Emperor Yi said with a smile. Yi Qinghan smiled in return. He flew to Emperor Yi and said gently, "You don't have to thank me." Emperor Yi nodded and said no more. Yi Qinghan looked at the people outside and waved his hand to throw out more than 10 treasure-level giant divine weapons. There were spears, divine swords, giant axes, everything that one could think of. A large amount of divine iron and meteoric iron was wasted, and half of the purple gold meteoric iron was consumed. In the end, these 13 treasures were made, and Zixian also got a very handy divine sword. Everyone received a divine weapon, golden armor and golden gloves. A perfect set of divine armor, and their combat power more than doubled. They were all overjoyed. Yi Qinghan was even happier. These divine weapons not only increased Guangzong's combat power, but also helped him improve rapidly in refining divine weapons. In just a dozen days, he had improved by 30% and his explosive power increased by 20%. Yi Qinghan's explosive power was already terrifying to begin with, and with the addition of Yi Qinghan's power, his battle prowess would definitely double. "Let's go back and prepare for the battle," Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Everyone was excited. This gamble would affect the future development of the Guangzong. Even if they knew that there would be casualties, they were still willing to fight. Yi Qinghan brought everyone back to the insane sect. He went straight to the army commander, Roger, and ordered him to go to the South Horizon region to train the army and talents. It could be considered as adding elites to the insane sect. Roger brought 100 members of the Azura squad, as well as some artificers and alchemists, and opened the Azura region's domain gate to enter the South Horizon region. Many years later, the South Horizon region would definitely develop into a great domain that did not belong to the Azura region. Jiang Jingtian and the others went into seclusion as soon as they returned to the wild sect. They cultivated the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger in preparation for the battle. Just as Yi Qinghan was preparing to cultivate for a while, Nangong Yunlan arrived. Outside the insane sect, Nangong Yunlan handed Yi Qinghan 5 drops of supreme divine power without hesitation. She said happily, "My ancestor has agreed to cooperate. These 5 drops of supreme divine power are the down payment, but he hopes to meet you." Yi Qinghan nodded. It was only right for him to meet her. He then left the endless galaxy with Nangong Yunlan. The two sped along the way from the Azura region to the Six Paths domain, and after a few more turns, they finally arrived at the Supreme Saint Grounds. Upon entering the Saint Grounds, Yi Qinghan understood what it meant to have a strong foundation. The Saint Grounds and the insane sect were on a completely different level. If it were not for Gu Qingyu and the other super experts, the insane sect would have been destroyed by the Saint Grounds easily. When they arrived at the temple, the Saint Lord and several clan elders of the Saint Grounds were all present. They all stared at Yi Qinghan as if they could not wait to see through him. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and bowed. He said respectfully, "Junior Yi Qinghan greets Lord Saint Lord and seniors. Have a seat. We called you here because we want to get to know you. Consider it as a pre-cooperation. That way we can rest assured," Saint Lord Nangong Batian said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan sat beside Nangong Yunlan and looked straight at the elders. He didn't show the slightest bit of fear or guilt. "Sacred Lord, seniors, Brother Yunlan and I can be considered friends who have gone through life and death together. Naturally, I will not harm him. This cooperation is for a win-win situation. If we fail, we will both suffer losses. I will not use my fate to harm the Supreme Holy Land," Yi Qinghan said seriously. "And this old man understands your growth process. In just a short 10,000 years, you have grown to this extent. This old man is ashamed." Nangong Baishan's aura swept through the entire temple. In terms of combat power, he was definitely stronger than the current second-generation sorcerer god. However, if the second-generation sorcerer god recovered, he would be stronger than him. "My Supreme Saint Grounds has been lacking in talents for the past few years. We only have Yunlan as an outstanding figure. We do indeed need to cooperate with the insane sect. Hence, we are sincere. Otherwise, we would not waste so much Supreme God energy. Hence, I hope Brother Yi can understand. When we get the entrance, I hope the two of us can enter the Wangu cloud sky together and split the resources in half," Nangong Batian continued after a moment of silence. Yi Qinghan's brows twitched. Splitting everything in half? That was equivalent to letting the Supreme Saint Grounds take advantage of them. "Senior." Yi Qinghan was prepared to reject Nangong Baishan's request. Nangong Batian raised his hand and said, "Sect Lord Yi, don't be anxious. I took advantage of you, so I naturally have to make up for it. Other than the Supreme Sword Scripture, you can choose any other sacred art of my Supreme Saint Grounds." Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. This Nangong Batian was really daring. A Saint Grounds inheritance, other than the Supreme Sword Scripture, was actually willing to share any other secret art. What did the insane sect lack? Wasn't that what they lacked? I hope that Sect Lord Yi can help the Supreme Saint Grounds tide over this era of lack of talent. Our Supreme Saint Grounds can also help you enter the top tier of power and be on par with the Saint Grounds. A win-win situation. Sect Lord Yi, why don't you consider it? Nangong Batian said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan grinned and nodded. Since Lord Saint Ground has said so, if this junior still doesn't agree, wouldn't that be unappreciative of your kindness? Since that's the case, let's sign the contract. Nangong Batian waved his hand and signaled to a clan elder. It was obvious that they had already reached an agreement and believed that Yi Qinghan would definitely agree. Yi Qinghan looked at the contract briefly. Overall, it was all about mutual assistance. Although the Supreme Saint Grounds had taken some advantage, it was understandable. After all, the supreme divine power was something that could only be encountered and not sought. It was something that couldn't be exchanged for even if one had supreme treasures. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and pressed down on the blood contract. The alliance between the two sides was officially working together. However, they didn't announce it to the world. Instead, they wanted to catch the other Saint Grounds off guard. Only then would they be able to snatch one or two entrances. After signing the blood contract, Yi Qinghan joined forces with the Saint Lord and the clan elder to create a domain gate that led directly to the Azura domain. The Azura domain was the gateway to the insane sect. There were no ultra-long distance domain gates in the Endless Star System. Anyone who wanted to attack the Endless Star System would have to enter the Azura domain first. This way, the insane sect would have a longer time to prepare. After the domain gate was completed, Yi Qinghan used it to directly enter the Azura domain. He entered the Azura sect and went into seclusion to wait for the battle half a year later. Chapter 1106. In the Azura region, colorful clouds appeared in the sky. The aura of desolation permeated the air, shrouding the mountains and rivers. It was as if everything had returned to the desolate era before the primal chaos. The pressure was so terrifying that even the birds did not dare to fly. The number of spies in the surroundings suddenly increased. The Azura region's army was in a tight formation. Even Lu Aotian, Xia Qiue, and several other armies had been mobilized. The ancient massacre god's 30,000 men were stationed outside the Azura sect. Inside the Azura sect, there were also 300 little Azura teams. Something big seemed to have happened in the Azura sect. No one was allowed to go near. In the back mountain of the sect, the aura of desolation was even thicker. Yi Qinghan crossed his hands and formed a strange seal. The power of desolation in his body was almost on par with the primal chaos power. The great desolation seal was like a black hole, transforming the primal chaos power into the power of desolation. The great desolation monument trembled constantly. The runes on it filled his sea of consciousness, revealing a secret divine ability. Heaven Desolation Technique. 3 ancient words appeared on the Great Desolation Monument. They were difficult to understand. Yi Qinghan did not recognize these 3 words, but he could feel the terrifying destructive power contained within them. Swish! Yi Qinghan's pupils looked. The Great Desolation Monument appeared in front of him. There was a tiny person forming seals on it. It was using a divine ability. It should be the Heaven Desolation Technique. Yi Qinghan learned it. His hands drew a reverse 8 trigram seal in front of his chest. His body soared into the sky, forming seals faster and faster, commanding the power of desolation in the world. Boom! 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 The world rumbled and the desolation danced. The tiny person on the Great Desolation Monument also sped up. Yi Qinghan could clearly feel that once the seal was formed, it could cause the world to age and everything to return to nothingness. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and soared into the sky, leaving the Azura region. The stars moved as he pierced through the clouds and appeared 10,000 miles away. He sped all the way to the extreme north. It was a snowy area. Besides snow trees, snow wolves, and other creatures of the extreme north, there was nothing else. Boom! The great wasteland's monolith sat on the snowy mountain and grew to a height of 10,000 feet. The tiny figure on top of it also grew in size and looked majestic. Every move of the tiny figure could cause all Dharma to follow it and the great Tao to wail. An extremely difficult seal was formed. The tiny figure on the great wasteland's steel seemed to be about to break free from its shackles. Its movements were exactly the same as Yi Qinghan's. A palm descended from the sky. The world was desolate, and its aura soared into the Milky Way. Wherever it passed, snow danced in the air, and mountains and rivers trembled. The frigid water surged for 3,000 miles. Boom! Howl! In a split second, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The cedar trees that could have survived for countless years withered and became barren. Even the sky was about to collapse. The snow wolves howled and howled, but before they could finish, their powerful vitality was forcefully taken away, and they died on the spot. The Heavenly Wastelands Technique. When cultivated to the extreme, it can cause time to flow rapidly. Even the Heavenly Tao can age. Yi Qinghan withdrew his hand and stood proudly beside the great wasteland's steel. That palm had consumed almost 40% of his strength. Even with the support of the 9 dragon roots, he could not use a terrifying secret technique like the Heavenly Wastelands Technique without limit. Yi Qinghan was silent. He secretly recalled the time when he used the Heavenly Wastelands Technique. The God of Wastelands Technique circulated in his body. He wanted to improve it again and increase his explosive strength. In the snowy mountain, Yi Qinghan performed the same seal day after day, month after month. He constantly improved and improved. His explosive strength increased, but the god of wastelands technique consumed decreased. A day of cultivation in the snowy mountain was 1,000 years in the outside world. Yi Qinghan forgot about the passage of time, but time passed quickly outside. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Jiang Jingtian, Li Feng, and the others had already come out of seclusion. Their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. They were all wearing golden armor and supreme-grade supreme giant divine weapons. More than 10 of them had gathered at the Azura sect, waiting for Yi Qinghan to come out of seclusion. The 21 Holy Lands had already finished their preparations. They had gathered their strongest elites to compete for the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. In the center of the chaotic universe, in Blue Sky City, the small factions had all been expelled. The various Holy Lands and powerful factions controlled the city. They each occupied a piece of land and set up camp. After all, the gambling match would not end in a day or two. This group of monstrous geniuses, invincible kings, could last for many days. Holy Lands were constantly being teleported to the outside of Blue Sky City through the coordinate. The desolate aura within a radius of 10,000 miles suddenly became much denser. Blue Sky City, which was originally like a fairyland, was peaceful and tranquil. But after today, it was destined that the land would be bathed in blood and the sky would be dyed red. Supreme Empyrean Holy Lands Patriarch Nangong Batian personally led a group of 4: Nangong Yunlan, Nangong Yunao, and Aoshuer. The other clan elders were left behind to guard the Holy Lands headquarters. Many Holy Lands looked at the Supreme Empyrean Holy Lands. They did not have the support of their subordinate factions' elites, and they only had one god's son. At most, they only had Nangong Yunao and Nangong Aoshuer. How could they compete with the other Holy Lands for resources? Holy Lord Nangong, why struggle like this? Just the 3 of them want to get a share of the Wangu Yuntian's resources? I advise you to preserve their lives and give up. Karma Holy Lands Holy Lord Ji Tian Chongkong said disdainfully. Ha ha ha, Holy Lord Nangong, could it be that you are cooperating with the sorcerer race or demon god mountain? Coming over to give them a show of force? Fellow Taoist, you might as well submit to my spacetime Holy Land. Once my clan obtains the entrance, we will give you 10% of the resources. The spacetime Holy Lands Holy Lord laughed. Nangong Batian was indifferent. He did not accept their provocation and only quietly set up camp, waiting for the insane sect to arrive. Right now, more than one faction was preparing to absorb the Supreme Empyrean Holy Lands. Of the 21 Supreme Holy Lands, they were currently the weakest. If it weren't for the fact that their older generation was too strong, they would have been swallowed up long ago. In the distance, the second sorcerer god looked at the 4 people from the Supreme Holy Land. He had a bad premonition in his heart. If Yi Qinghan reaches an agreement with them, I'm afraid there will be a problem in the competition for the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. Last time, this old man followed Father God's star chart to find the 16 passages, and 3 of them mysteriously disappeared. There are only 13 left. With 23 factions competing, at least 10 Holy Lands will be eliminated. Originally, the Supreme Holy Lands were already eliminated, and 9 more would be enough. Now that there is one less chance, this gambling fight might be even more bloody than I thought. The second sorcerer god clenched his fists and looked at the 12 shensis, goddesses, and Ling Xiaoyu behind him. He wasn't sure how many of them would be able to survive this gambling fight. The serpent divine dragon had also chosen 4 of the strongest desolate ancient mutants from the sky monster region. Their cultivation was not inferior to the shensis, and their individual combat strength was even slightly higher. However, in a real battle, talent, experience, and mystic arts mattered. A battle between experts was unpredictable, and no one could guarantee that they would win. The serpent divine dragon appeared beside the second sorcerer god with the 4 mutants. When he saw that the second sorcerer god was staring at Nangong Batian, he guessed the reason. Later, go and persuade Yi Qinghan to give up on the Supreme Empyrean Holy Lands. With the 3 of us working together, it shouldn't be a problem for us to take 2 entrances, the second sorcerer god said in a deep voice. With his temper, I don't think we can persuade him. The serpent divine dragon shook his head, and his eyes shone with a cold light. He was determined to get the resources of the Wangu Yuntian, and he would kill anyone who stood in his way. Chapter 1107 Blue Sky City. The blue sky and white clouds stretched as far as the eye could see. Outside the city there were dozens of camps. The Holy Lands were fighting for themselves, and they all had their own affiliated forces. Only the Holy Lands did not. All the forces were present except for the insane sect. Not a single person came. The Holy Lands were very dissatisfied. It was just a newly risen sect that did not have any foundation. How dare they ignore the Holy Lands? According to the time, it should be today. If no one from the insane sect comes within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, they will be excluded. Does everyone agree? Holy Lord Jitian Chongkong said coldly. The other forces looked at the sorcerer race and saw that they did not object. They immediately agreed. Even the Z clan was united. As for the demon god mountain's attitude, it was no longer important. Yi Qinghan was still breaking through and practicing the heaven desolation technique. He was not deliberately neglecting these powerful Holy Lands, but he really could not make it in time. Qin Wentian looked at the various Holy Lands. If the insane sect really came late and dared to compete with the Holy Lands, they would very likely be destroyed by them. Who said that no one from the insane sect came? I'm here to be the vanguard. My uncle will be here soon. Qin Wentian stood out, and Emoli could not stop him. Are you from the insane sect or the demon god mountain? The Time Holy Lord asked unhappily. It's none of your business. Qin Wentian glared and snorted. Emoli was so angry that the corner of his mouth twitched. This guy was purposely making enemies for him. However, in such a grand occasion, he could not give her face. Otherwise, she would not give him face. Instead, he would be laughed at by the world. The Time Holy Lord was also angry, but he could not argue with Qin Wentian. Wentian, stop messing around. Come back. Yi Qinghan is the leader of a sect. If he can forget such an important thing or deliberately come late, he has no right to compete with the Holy Lands for resources. Emoli reprimanded coldly. Qin Wentian frowned and looked at the void. He still could not find Yi Qinghan. Nangong Yunlan was also a little anxious. She did not expect Yi Qinghan to drop the ball at such a crucial moment. Contact him, Nangong Batian said in a deep voice. Just as Nangong Yunlan was about to send a message to Yi Qinghan, a large patch of dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. The sky distorted, and more than 10 figures appeared out of thin air. They were all top-notch young experts. Who else could they be other than Yi Qinghan and his group? They were all clad in golden armor and held divine weapons in their hands. The men were elegant like jade, and the women were beautiful beyond compare. Their auras were like rainbows, and they were all overlords of their respective regions. There were a total of 15 of them. Da-da-da. With Yi Qinghan in the lead, he quickly stepped towards the Supreme Empyrean Holy Land, ignoring the other forces. Now that the cooperation had been reached, Yi Qinghan did not need to care about other people's feelings, nor did he need to hide anything. He directly announced to the world that the alliance between the insane sect and the Supreme Holy Land had been negotiated. The Karma Sacred Land, Spacetime Sacred Land, and the other factions were all shocked. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be working together with a Supreme Sacred Land. Isn't he working with the shaman race? Ji Tian Chongkong frowned, feeling somewhat angry. The result of Yi Qinghan working with the shaman race or the Supreme Holy Land was clearly different. If the Supreme Holy Land did not work with Yi Qinghan, they would definitely be eliminated. The second sorcerer god could give up on the insane sect at any time, and the chances of the insane sect obtaining the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian were extremely slim. But now everything had changed. Many people frowned. They were unable to accept this sudden change. The second sorcerer god glared at Yi Qinghan, feeling the most furious in his heart. He felt that he had been betrayed by Yi Qinghan. However, the happiest one was Emoli. He grinned coldly. Yi Qinghan and the shaman race had parted ways, and the shaman race's power had been greatly reduced. The pressure on the demon god mountain was naturally reduced by a lot. Emoli quickly gave Qin Wentian a look. Qin Wentian nodded and walked towards Yi Qinghan, saying in a low voice, "Uncle, Moli wants to work with you and strive to obtain the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian." Yi Qinghan looked at Moli in the distance and asked calmly, "How do we work together?" "Only the top 16 will have the chance to obtain the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. Emoli hopes that we can go easy on each other and cooperate with each other to obtain the highest number of points and obtain the best entrance. Because of the high number of points, we will have the priority to choose." Qin Wentian looked at Yi Qinghan with anticipation. In his heart, he was somewhat unwilling for Yi Qinghan to go against the demon god mountain. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing in them. He asked hoarsely, "Wentian, if I were to avenge the dead souls of the insane sect today, which side would you stand on?" Qin Wentian's body trembled. He could see that Yi Qinghan no longer wanted to control his anger. He wanted to take revenge today, which put him in a difficult position. "Uncle, I won't attack the insane sect's uncles, but I also can't attack the people of the demon god mountain." Qin Wentian's position was extremely awkward. He didn't know what to do. Moreover, the demon god mountain has many hidden ultimate elites. These years, their battle physiques have begun to show their strength. The descendants of the demon god mountain have also returned. If you attack the demon god mountain and the shaman tribe at the same time, you will suffer heavy losses and might even lose the right to fight for the Wangu Yuntian. Qin Wentian advised. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up slightly. The cold light in his eyes was concealed, and his violent heart gradually calmed down. "Tell him that I agree." Yi Qinghan was expressionless. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of his useless younger brother Yi Kuan. He had obtained the inheritance of the Dark Knight Demon God, and was the left and right arm of the great demon god. His status wasn't any lower than the battle physique. He asked, "Have the inheritors of the Dark Knight Demon God returned? You know about it?" Qin Wentian's heart jumped. He looked into Yi Qinghan's eyes and didn't dare to hide anything. He spoke the truth, he has returned. His cultivation base is extremely terrifying. Under a fortuitous encounter, he obtained the complete inheritance of the Dark Knight Demon God and forcefully refined the Dark Knight Demon God's godhead. He has cultivated the Dark Knight Demon God's Tao scripture to the peak. Yi Qinghan sighed. He didn't expect there to be so many important people in the Demon God Mountain. No matter what, Yi Kuan was the last remaining relative of the Yi clan. He really couldn't bear to kill him. "Let's go back." Yi Qinghan suddenly felt extremely tired. He waved his hand and indicated for them to leave. After Qin Wentian left, the second shaman god personally came over. He stared fixedly at Yi Qinghan's eyes, opposing him with equal harshness. "Your son is the sixth shaman god. Don't you think about your son's future before doing things?" The second shaman god questioned in a hoarse voice. "My cooperation with the Supreme Holy Ground doesn't affect my cooperation with you guys. There are more than 10 entrances, not just 2. Yi Qinghan indifferently replied. "There are only 13 entrances left. The other entrances have all disappeared. If you act recklessly like this, even my shaman race might not be able to obtain the entrances." The second shaman god angrily said. Yi Qinghan wasn't shocked. Instead, he laughed. The greater the pressure, the more exciting it was. Even if he had to help the shaman race obtain the entrances, he would still make the second shaman god pay a heavy price. 5 drops of supreme divine energy. I will let the shaman race obtain the highest number of points. Yi Qinghan demanded an exorbitant price. He didn't hesitate to extort the second shaman god. The second shaman god was enraged. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be such a scammer. He actually dared to scam him and his own son at such a crucial moment. "The sixth shaman god is your son," the second shaman god angrily reprimanded. "No, he is the shaman god of your shaman race. If I need help one day, he will definitely consider the interests of the shaman race. Similarly, I will also consider the interests of the insane sect. If you are willing, I will cooperate with you. If not, I will cooperate with the demon god mountain," Yi Qinghan calmly said. The second shaman god's weakness was exposed. If Yi Qinghan really cooperated with the demon god mountain, the shaman race might not be able to obtain the entrances. "Alright, I agree. Remember, my shaman race obtains the highest number of points. If you don't obtain the highest number of points, you won't obtain the supreme divine energy." The second shaman god snorted. "Pay up first." Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and said calmly. The second shaman god had no choice but to hand over 5 drops of supreme divine energy. Yi Qinghan now had 11 drops of supreme divine energy in his hands. After the second shaman god left, Yi Qinghan once again walked towards the demon god mountain's camp. He found Mo Li and Yushin and went straight to the point. If they wanted to obtain the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian, they would have to take out 7 drops of supreme divine energy. Otherwise, they could forget about it. Even if the insane sect suffered heavy losses, they would stop the demon god mountain from entering the top 15. Chapter 1108. Yi Qinghan took advantage of the situation to extort them. Why would he care about morality? The two factions needed the resources of the Wangu Yuntian the most. They had the most elites, and without the support of the Wangu Yuntian, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Mo Li's eyes twitched. Seeing Yi Qinghan's firm attitude, he clenched his fists and said hoarsely, "You want to extort me?" "Yes. You can choose not to give it to me." Yi Qinghan grinned coldly. He was just worried about not having an excuse to take revenge. Now that they gave it to him, it was equivalent to tearing off a large piece of meat from their bodies. If they didn't give it to him, it wouldn't be a matter of a piece of meat anymore. Yushin stood beside Mo Li and glared angrily at Yi Qinghan. She had never met someone so difficult to deal with. His actions were completely unpredictable. Back then, when they were fighting to the death for the sake of the intangible body, Yi Qinghan had taken the initiative to send Qin Wentian back to Demon God Mountain without any warning. He didn't even mention any conditions. But now that they were working together for a win-win situation, Yi Qinghan just had to take the opportunity to extort them. Mo Li held the demonic god's spear, and the dust on the ground involuntarily rose. His aura became more and more violent as he stared at Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan didn't care at all. He didn't even have the confidence to defeat Yi Qinghan. At most, I'll pay the same price as the second sorcerer god. Not even a little bit more. Mo Li was flustered and exasperated. If it wasn't for the importance of this matter, he would have already fought with Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan immediately laughed. "Deal. 5 drops of supreme divine power. Pay the bill first. I will ensure that our insane sect gets an entrance. When they see people from the two factions, they will retreat and admit defeat." Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and asked for the supreme divine power. Although Mo Li was reluctant, he had no choice but to give it to him. After obtaining 5 drops of supreme divine power, Yi Futian now had 16 drops on him. It was enough to ensure that the insane sect would not fall for tens of thousands of years. Even the Holy Land would not dare to bully him too much. After all, the insane sect's experts possessed the supreme divine power. Once they unleashed it, it would definitely destroy the world. Yi Qinghan distributed 16 drops of paramount godly power to the 14 experts. Each of them received 1 drop. 1 drop of paramount godly power was equivalent to 1 life. This was their life-saving trump card. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. He lamented that the insane sect was still not strong enough. With this supreme divine power, it still could not be compared to the Holy Land. Jiang Jingtian and the others had 1 drop each, and it would be easy for them to consume it. Dong dong dong. The sound of drums shook the heavens. All the major powers began to gather to discuss how to make the bet. The single elimination tournament was one of them. However, this alone would waste a lot of time. Therefore, the Holy Land needed a way to quickly exhaust the elites, and that was a chaotic battle. Each side will send 20 people. All of them will enter the supreme space in 3 days. Every Holy Land or power must find 100 supreme divine stones in the supreme space. Elites can snatch the supreme divine stones from each other, kill each other, or trade with each other. 1 supreme divine stone is 1 point, and the highest point is 100 points. This way, half of the elites will be eliminated. Then, the single elimination tournament will begin. A win will give you 1 point. A draw will not give you any points, and a loss will not deduct any point. The one with the highest points will have priority in choosing the entrance to the Aeon Cloud Sky and the Azura Hell. If the total points does not exceed 60, the Holy Land will be eliminated. If the total points exceeds 120, the Holy Land will be given 2 entrances. The second sorcerer god glanced at the crowd and suggested. The supreme space was a space created by the Overgod. The space inside was stable and even stronger than the chaotic universe. The space was vast and boundless, but it was not dangerous. There were no spiritual herbs or living creatures. It was just a place for the Overgods to spar with each other. There were some supreme divine stones inside, which was a material used to create Overgod weapons. Only the Overgods could melt these stones, so they were not very valuable. Therefore, no one was willing to go to the supreme space. The chaotic battle in the supreme space encouraged the elites to kill each other. The casualty rate would be very high. Moreover, if the Holy Lands wanted to complete their mission, they would have to spread out to search for the supreme divine stones. They were extremely rare and could not be found everywhere. Yi Qinghan did not know what the supreme space was. He looked at Zixian and asked curiously, "What is a supreme divine stone? Where is the supreme space? Have you divine sons and daughters been in there before?" Violet Immortal shook her head and said, "The paramount space is useless. It only has a few Overgod stones, and the rest is just a desert. Overgod stones are one of the materials for Overgod artifacts. There's no way to refine them at all. Even if you could refine them, you wouldn't be able to find any other Overgod artifact materials, so it's useless. Ever since the end of the primordial chaos era, the paramount space has never been opened again." Since everyone was fair, Yi Qinghan did not say anything more. They just needed to wait for the arrangements. However, the Supreme Holy Land and the Insane Sect only had 18 people. They were still 2 people short. They were naturally behind the other Holy Lands. Yi Qinghan reminded them in a low voice, "It will probably be released at random later. We may not be able to stay together. In the early stages, don't be in a hurry to find the supreme divine stones. That thing's level is too high. It can't be stored in the Qiankuan ring. You can only carry it on your back. Carrying the supreme divine stones will only bring you danger. Emperor Yi, Jiang Jingtian, Li Feng, and Gu Qingyu were the strongest. Yi Qinghan was not worried. Medusa, Xia Ziluo, and Wu Yan were equipped with the golden armor set. They could at most be compared to the divine sons and some top expert. Once they were surrounded, they would be in danger. Yi Qinghan looked at the people from the insane sect and pulled Nangong Yunlan and the other two over so that everyone could get familiar with each other. In the supreme space, other than the 18 of them, even the gods could not be trusted. Yi Qinghan said seriously, "If you meet Yi Kuan in the supreme space, try not to attack him. His close combat skills are similar to mine. I heard that he has improved a lot and is very dangerous. I don't think he will dare to attack the insane sect. If he attacks the insane sect, tell him. If he attacks the insane sect, I will find him personally." Everyone nodded. They obviously would not take the initiative to attack Yi Kuan. They were afraid that Yi Kuan would take the initiative to attack. After some discussion, the 21 holy lords of the Holy Lands worked together and tore the sky apart. A deep space that stretched endlessly appeared above Blue Sky City. It was like the entrance to hell. The depths were gray and the space was abnormally stable. Everyone will be teleported to a random location. There will not be any accidents. 3 days later, release your divine power to sense our divine power, and we will bring you out. Once you die, your corpses will be left in the supreme space. The second sorcerer god said to everyone. Yes. Everyone replied in unison. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many people began to take the initiative to rush into the supreme space. Only by gaining a firm foothold would they have an advantage. Yi Qinghan and the others did not hesitate. This was not the time to give in. The 18 of them rushed into the deep chasm together and disappeared in a flash. 23 forces, more than 400 elites, each holding a divine weapon, passed through the chasm and landed in the desolate world. The supreme space was so huge that it was bigger than several large regions. 400 people landed in a relatively safe space hundreds of thousands of miles away. However, some of them were not so lucky and happened to land beside some of the top divine sons. They were killed with a wave of their hands, and their blood stained the sand. Coiling Tiger, Mo Li Ji Tianxin, Marshal King Ji, and the others were the top divine kings. They were strong contenders for the supreme god position. Their attacks were ruthless and merciless. With a wave of their hands they could crush the sky. Hum! Boom! Streaks of sword light pierced through space. Anything that did not belong to their holy lands was an enemy. The beginning of this battle was unusually bloody. Chapter 1109. Whoosh, hum! A sword light flashed by, and the sound of the sword destroyed the will of the experts. Even the elite kings were terrified, as if the sword was going to destroy the sky. No one would hold back in this battle. They only cared about killing and obtaining points. Only by winning this battle could their clansmen and sacred grounds stand tall in the chaotic universe for thousands of years. The kings who were not strong enough to compete with the top-tier gods' sons moved cautiously, including those from the insane sect. If they encountered a top-tier god's son, they could only run and not fight. If they were killed here, they would not be able to take revenge. No one knew who the enemy was. Years after their death, only a pile of bones would be left. Di Longtian held the heavenly Tao God killing sword in his hand and wore a golden armor. He kept a low profile as he sneaked through the withered mountains. There were plants in the mountains, but they were all shrubs that could survive in harsh conditions. They were harder than steel, and ordinary divine weapons could not destroy them. This was indeed a place where the supreme gods fought. Sword marks and sword marks could be seen everywhere. However, if the supreme gods could not destroy this space, these young experts could not. More than a dozen peak-grade kings charged forward. The stable space and supreme great Tao laws suppressed the overlords to the point where even flying was extremely difficult. This place had become their world. Once they were discovered, there was no way to escape. Regardless of speed or strength, they were far inferior to these peak-grade kings. Boom! A sword light pierced through the clouds. Yi Qinghan's aura sword. His golden armor glowed brightly as he charged forward, hoping to attract the insane sex people to come closer. Yi Qinghan used the dragon transformation technique in a very high-profile manner. A 10,000 feet long divine dragon swam through the barren space, suppressing the experts of the sacred grounds. They did not dare to attack and could only dodge. The first to respond to Yi Qinghan was Emperor Yi. The heavenly music caused the sky to rumble. Sand and stones danced in the air. The vision of a 7-colored divine phoenix appeared at the top of the sky. The sun and the moon appeared at the same time. Dressed in a white robe, Emperor Yi sat cross-legged on the head of the god-slaying eagle and swooped down to the supreme space. However, the supreme space was too big, and everyone's speed was suppressed. They could only hear the sound but not see the trail. Tao Heaven Holy Ground Saint, the ultimate divine child, Tao Tianxiong Fei, held the sky-splitting divine bow in his hand as he strolled through the mountains and rivers. His green robe fluttered in the wind, and his movements were like a rainbow piercing through the sun. Wherever he passed, no one dared to make a sound. This divine bow was too powerful. Even a second-level divine son like Tao Tian Yunfei could send Mo Li flying with it. In the hands of Tao Tian Xiongfei, it was even more powerful and charming. Tao Tianxiong Fei's face was expressionless. His eyes flashed as he crossed 100 miles of space and time. He suddenly pulled the bow and poured out his godly power. He stepped on the mountain rocks, and the solid ground trembled slightly. The sky-splitting divine bow was pulled halfway out. The space was distorted by the terrifying power and was about to shatter. Whoosh! Whoosh! Divine force turned into a divine arrow, shattering the void. The space-time order in front of him completely changed, completely destroyed by him. The arrow's power was unstoppable. A powerhouse wearing the uniform of the Holy Land of Order heard the commotion behind him. He stamped his foot and flew several miles into the sky. However, the divine arrow changed its trajectory and followed closely behind him. Bang! The divine arrow pierced through the powerhouse's body. The defensive armor didn't even buy him any time. The king-level giant god only had time to scream before his body exploded. His blood dyed half the sky, and not even his bones were left. Tao Tianxiong Fei put away his bow without any emotion. It was as if he was crushing an ant. Millions of miles away, Martial King Ji Tianxin was wearing a royal robe. The divine sword in his hand was stained with blood. It was obvious that he had killed a powerhouse. This day was destined to be the doomsday of the elite kings. Mo Li, Purple Saint, Coiling Tiger, and the other experts chased after the outer Holy Land. No matter who it was, they killed on sight. There was no room for negotiation. If they killed the outer Holy Lands, they would be weaker, and they would be stronger. The top powerhouses of the various Holy Lands showed no mercy. Yi Qinghan was no exception. It was hard to imagine the extent of the massacre when this group of monsters gathered together. However, it was imaginable that the top kings would be stained with blood. Maniac Sex Yen Yunbei held a strange giant divine weapon in his left hand. This was specially made by Yi Qinghan. It was a crescent moon with extremely sharp blades on both sides. There were 5 holes in the center where 5 fingers could fit in. It had almost merged with the body, turning into a deadly killing weapon. In his right hand was an ordinary dagger filled with Xian energy and reincarnation aura. As long as he got close, he would definitely be killed with lightning speed. At this moment, he was like a ghost traversing through the supreme space. His eyes and ears were alert. No one could escape his eyes, but not many could discover him. He quietly approached an empty valley. There was a special light in the valley. As he got closer, he realized that it was a supreme god stone. It emitted a faint supreme god power. This stone was easy to recognize. It was only the size of a fist and had a divine light. Other stones wouldn't have this kind of divine light. Shua. Yen Yunbei turned into a wisp of smoke and swept across the valley. With a wave of his hand, the stone was taken away. However, on the other side of the valley, a god's son appeared. With a shake of the sword in his hand, 3 sword flowers tore through the void and appeared at Yen Yunbei's throat. Whoosh! Yen Yunbei reacted quickly. He flew backward and rolled a few times on the ground. Seeing the evil smile at the corner of the man's mouth, he quickly turned to look. There was another one behind him. They were wearing the same clothes. It was obvious that they were from the same Holy Land. Xianyuan Holy Land. Yen Yunbei's pupil shrank. This man with the word Xianyuan embroidered on his left shoulder must be a direct descendant of Xianyuan. He should be a god's son. However, the other person behind him didn't have such embroidery. He must be a follower of a subsidiary family. Shua. Yen Yunbei turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared again. However, the 2 great powerhouses of the Xianyuan family blocked the way and attacked the wisp of smoke at the same time. Boom! The place where Yen Yunbei stood was shattered. The stones on the ground cracked, but there was no blood. It meant that they didn't injure Yen Yunbei. Be careful! That god's son waved his sword in all directions, afraid that Yen Yunbei would sneak attack him. The other person's reaction was a bit slower. A wisp of smoke appeared on his body and wrapped around him like a long snake. It spun continuously, leaving no trace behind. Pucci! A white light flashed and blood splattered everywhere. The Xianyuan family thought that the follower of a peak king had died miserably on the spot. However, Yen Yunbei had disappeared. He was like a specter that disappeared without a trace. It was impossible to let him fight in the arena. However, in this space, even a peak king's son might not be able to defend against his attacks. No! That god's son roared. He swept his sword in all directions and hit the mountain rocks on both sides. The rocks fell down, but Yen Yunbei had already left. He wouldn't be entangled with him. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.